Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Fraser City Council meeting for Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 6:35 PM. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lane, could you take roll call, please?
Here.
Present.
Mayor Carnegie?
Here.
Councilmember Colca?
Here.
Councilmember Odell is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Shornack?
Here.
Councilmember Sutherland? Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Shornack.
Present.
I was just making a motion to excuse Mr. Odell. My
Second.
microphone was off, too, so.
I'll
okay.
second that motion.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second to excuse Councilman Adele. All in favor?
Made those motions?
Aye.
Teresa and I seconded it.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'd be glad to entertain approval for the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Wait, are you talking?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. You second, I'll second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, I gotta get a new pen. Item 5, citizen partition on agenda items. If there's an agenda item that you wish to discuss and won't be here for the entirety of the meeting, now is your time to take a moment, make yourself recognized. I see none. I'll bring it back to. Oh, go ahead.
Hello there.
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
I am Karen Arundel, 15461 Sherwood Lane. I've lived in Fraser since 1980. I find Fraser a good place to live. My favorite part of Fraser is using the library. I used it with my children. I use it now. I'm the head of the Friends of Fraser Library. I am distressed of the condition of the current building of the library. There was a fall event where it was a pre-Halloween event. Many families were invited. It was an outside event. The library grounds are way too small for having very much on an outside event. The church next door called protest that there were people in their parking lot and using their parking lot, which I agree is unfortunate. But we need more space in the library. The current library building, we had a book sale in the building on March 25th, and because of water that was entering the building and cascading down the steps, we had to close off the steps within the library because of the water problem. We had a general meeting at the library on May the 3rd, and there continued to be a water problem on the inside stairwell. It's a shame. It's a beautiful building. It's a small building. This week, another person and I were using the library, and because of a sewage problem at the library, then the library was forced to close early and we had to leave. The city could offer us better. And if the city and the library are going toward a separation in terms of the library building being at that building, I would ask the city to realize that it is an advantage to have a good library in a city. And I would ask the city here to be favorable as they make agreements to separate, if indeed that's the direction that you choose to go, so that it would allow the library to be strong for the citizens of Fraser going forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rose Kloss. I live at 15546 Kingston. Amy's my neighbor. Anyway, Mayor Carnegie and council members, City of Fraser manager, and staff members, those present here and at home, good evening. Someone once said, let's give a little history and get our thoughts straight. The library millage from last year, 2022, started due to the lack of space for programs, parking, and updates that are needed to be made to the current home of Fraser Public Library. There were 3 informational meetings held, and they were in 2 different places, May 31st, June 14th, and July 19th, with the millage being August 2nd. Jim Walsh and his family were very gracious to allow the May 31st and June 14th informational meetings about the millage to be held at Infinity Hall. Christ Church at 34385 Garfield Road allowed July 19th meeting to be held. These meetings were give the public the chance to gather information on the library millage. The Yes Committee, Fraser Public Library Millage 2022, was formed right away with all legal and formal paperwork with the Macomb County Election Department in Mount Clemens. An EIN number was acquired in the event donations would be made to help promote the millage proposal. At that time, the PNC Bank on Groesbeck allowed us to open a bank account. The library posted 3 documents on their website: the millage 2022, with the building plan, tech plan, and millage funding. In addition, the annual report from 2021 was posted and the strategic plan of 2022. These were available at the library desk in a paper copy, on the website of the library's page, and if residents did not have a computer, they could ask for a copy at the desk or log in on a computer at the library and find the information. If they needed help with anyone from the library would have been glad to help them find the information. No, I am not a lobbyist. I'm not working for anyone. I'm a retired teacher. And as such, the importance of reading is very important to me and many other residents of this city. Having access to the library is important for intelligence growth. We all know what is best for the little residents of Fraser as well as the senior residents of Fraser, and that's what we would like. As you have witnessed from the library director's diligence with the funds so far and the library board's constant monitoring of funds and programs, it can only grow. Putting our best foot forward for the future of Fraser and the Fraser Public Library, consider the growing opportunities. The library director, the library board only want to improve the current situation, attract more residents and others to use the library and grow their minds. And this was found in Macomb Now magazine, put out by Pete Lucido, who's now the Macomb County prosecuting attorney, and Tracy Morrow took it over. This is what they found Macomb residents would like. Today's libraries offer much more than books. Many offer digital and virtual programming and opportunities such as ebooks, internet hotspots, movies, music, and other media, virtual learning opportunities and book clubs, virtual children's programming such as storytime and crafts, streaming devices, drive-up window and curbside pickup, and in-person browsing, online library applications, genealogy resources, virtual games, and trivia nights. And we all know those need to have some meeting rooms to accomplish that. Take into consideration the future of Fraser and how we would benefit from having an antiquated building given back to you and another building in the city's downtown area to be used for the residents of Fraser. That's what they wanted when they voted for the millage back in August 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Bryans. I live at 31052 Reichert in Fraser. I would like to address the City Council on the matter of the bond proposal for the Fraser Library. You're not done with this yet. On December 7th, 2022, I attended the council meeting that dealt with the Library Board of Trustees' request that the council issue a bond for either repairs necessary in the current library building or the possibility of finding a more suitable alternative building. The recent millage that has been passed would cover the cost of the bond in a 20-year proposal. The repairs in the current building include, but not limited to, plumbing stoppages, serious roof leaks. The DPW replaced the roofs a few years ago, but it continued to leak. There is no warranty that's issued by the DPW. There are heating and cooling issues. The elevator has recurring repairs. It makes a very heavy thump when it starts, and other noises follow. Yesterday, you've already heard the library had to close at 3:30 due to a plumbing stoppage in the ladies' room. If there's no toilets available, the library has to close. It was no surprise to the council that these problems exist. The repairs have been seriously neglected for at least 8 years. 2 council members did review the PNC building with members of the Board of Trustees some time ago. 5 council members voted against providing the bond necessary to repair the current building or to purchase a different facility. Why was the bond refused? There was much information provided by Lorena McDowell, the library director, contractors, attorneys, even a council member, and the Board of Trustee members. Fraser doesn't have much to offer prospective buyers. There is no Parks and Recreation Department. We have a small senior center and a seriously deteriorating library building. We do have an excellent school system, which we can all be proud of. Isn't it time that the council revisited the bond issue for the Fraser Library? Was the council so sure that the millage wouldn't pass that they didn't think the bond proposal would need to be dealt with? The millage did pass, and the citizens of Fraser want to know, how is it going to be used? The millage is to resolve and maintain our library issues and provide the facility voters want to see in our city. I could go on and on about a fully functioning library, but I think Rose covered that very well. And this library, even if you've never been in it, you should, is very important to a lot of people and their children. We have an event on May 20th, the Spring Fling, and if you've never been to the library, we'd love to have you come.
Just for the record, ma'am, the council did not vote down any bond issue whatsoever about refixing up the current library. The only proposal that was given to council was bonding out for the price of fixing up the bank, nothing to do with the old building.
Well, the bond could have been used for either one, couldn't it?
It sure can, but they didn't present it to us. It wasn't presented to us as fixing the library, it was more presented as redoing the bank.
That wasn't my understanding, but thanks for the explanation.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, I will bring it back to the board. Consent agenda. Is there any comments, questions on the consent? Councilwoman Baranski.
Seeing no objections, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Councilwoman Blanky, did you have a?
I did.
Okay.
I just wanted to, on our consent agenda, usually we would, I'm just making a shout out to Sarah Kelly. She's lived in the community. Her in-laws lived in the community, Lynn Kelly and Bill Kelly, for many, many years. They've donated much time and volunteerism and effort to our city. Sarah has been on this commission quite a while. She's raising a family and working, so I would just like to applaud her and say thank you, Sarah, for volunteering to serve. That's it.
Absolutely. And her husband served as a paid-on-call firefighter for many years. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, item A is the Lions Fair City Picnic. Is a representative here from the Lions? I don't see him.
Well, one of the things that is required to be done on an annual basis is to visit the contract and approve an addendum to it, which outlines what their plan is for the year. Without having a plan for that, I don't know how council would feel about approving what we have done in the past without any changes. I know that this is an important event to the city, and this is one of the last opportunities that we will have to approve it to move forward.
Donald, at this time, there's been no changes to those. We all put our heads together last year, and the department heads and council when we put this addendum together. There's nothing that was added or changed since then, right?
No, the contract itself hasn't been adjusted or amended, and this will be the last year of the contract. The question I think that Ms. Levin is raising is we need the Lions Club to work with us to prepare the actual addendum that talks about whose responsibilities are whose, how much will be reimbursed to the city for any cost the city incurs. I don't know that we've seen that yet this year. So
Oh, I see.
I think that's what she's getting at is we will want to have that in place before the event takes place, because otherwise there'll be ambiguity in terms of who owes what to whom.
Did the city already have a city picnic or city festival meeting with them at all?
There has been an initial meeting and some conversation. I know that our recreation coordinator has met with department heads and has spoken with a representative from the Lions Club. We are still scheduled per the contract to move forward with the dates that they have in here. I'm just trying to find where that date is in the contract. I think it's June 19th, 20th.
What the event? July.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, July 20, 21, 22, 23, I believe, with the fireworks and parade scheduled on that Sunday, which is the 23rd.
20 through the 23rd.
Councilwoman Shornack.
You do have to change something in this contract because Mr. O'Neill is no longer our city manager, so we might want to update that to put Ms. Levin in,
Please.
please.
The only thing I would say is the contract is the contract at the moment, but for the next version of it, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
July 20, 21, 22, and 23 are the dates that are in the actual contract, just to clarify the dates.
Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're not going to be able to approve this until we have more input from the Lions Club regarding the, who's going to be responsible for what. So at this point, we just,
That's what I'm wondering, is if you would feel comfortable approving it with the same as what was done last year and no changes.
Was Derek advised of the meeting tonight, the show?
Yes.
Okay, then we won't move on.
I just think it would be better if there's some collective effort. I mean,
So one of the potential problems that we have with that is that we do have a couple of other things here as part of this event, which really could be standalone. So we've got the parade and the fireworks as part of a companion. For the fireworks, one of their contractual obligation is to contribute $8,000 towards the fireworks. So just letting you know, if for some reason things fall through and we say approve the contract and for the fireworks tonight and the parade, we would still be committed to going forward with that.
It's all right, I'll light them. I can do it.
Did you just say you'll light them?
Yeah, God help us all.
I would love to see you run fast
Sam,
enough.
make sure the standbys are there, fire trucks
Yeah.
ready.
No,
He's not lighting them.
We've always been there for that.
My understanding is that Lions Club does have a commitment for the carnival already. So I do believe that they do have the intention of moving forward with this.
Maybe he just had something come up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Councilwoman Baranski.
yeah, clearly, since we don't know anything about anything, and with all of the changes in price and everything over the last year, obviously, I want it to go forward, but I'm not going to blindly agree to something I don't know. So I would move to table it. But regardless, because I think I heard you correctly, was it the city committed to $8,000 for the fireworks? Or they committed?
Lions contributes $8,000 as part of the contract. The last couple years, the city has actually put more in the budget to pay for more, bigger, better fireworks.
What is per the contract, what is the city's obligation for the fireworks?
Nothing.
Zero.
Zero.
Got
So,
it.
so
Okay.
at one point in time, probably the beginning of this contract, it was $8,000 worth of fireworks. They paid for the fireworks. It was $8,000. I know last year the city committed to spend more of general fund money to make the fireworks bigger and better.
And how much did we spend last year?
Last year was $12,000 total,
I thought it was $4,000 last year.
Okay,
so it was $4,000 from the city to add to their $8,000.
okay.
Yeah.
They want it, they want an increase based on the feedback from the budget workshop of increasing it to 15.
Well, we want that.
Yeah, we want that because we know price.
So I was going to make a motion to at least do that because that has to get purchased. And I'm hoping everything else is the fee agreements, right? How much they pay us back for the police and how much for the water and the electricity and all of that, right? As opposed to fronting costs. So I'm going to make a motion to increase the amount, to allocate.
Do we have a motion to table?
First, you have more motion
first
to table.
table.
Well, I don't want to table it because.
We're only tabling part of it, the contract.
Right, I'm going to make the motion and then I'm going to table the second part. So I'm going to do two motions. First, I'm going to try to,
We've got the three separate agenda items set up in the agenda, so we can do the
Oh.
fireworks last.
got it, okay. Well, you brought it up, so that's why
I
I
know,
was,
I know.
I'm trying to, yeah, got it, okay.
It's kind of a package deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll make a motion to table the contract addendum.
Second.
We have a motion second. I know, I got you go. Councilwoman Sutherland.
So as far as the contract addendum goes, is there any way that we could agree to have the same contract addendum in place that we had last year with no changed conditions and then subject to, anything that might need to be changed? At least that way we could move forward, knowing that it would be status quo with the way that it was last year. And then if any changes need to be made, bring it back to council at the next meeting and then approve an updated contract addendum.
I think the answer to your question is yes, we could do that. My only hesitation would be if the addendum identifies costs, I don't know if we've had any increases.
Right, exactly. Which would mean that if we approve the same amounts as last year, we wouldn't be on the hook for any more because we're approving costs as of last year. So if there were increases, we would have to come back and see. But at least we would know that we could move forward with the other items if it's a package deal and then iron out if there are additional costs.
But aren't they our costs that we're sending to
To
them?
them, yes.
As opposed to the
It's what does
reverse?
it
So we
cost
would
the
short
city
ourselves.
that we need you, Lions Club, to pay us back for.
So the cost, like the cost for the police patrols and the fireworks detail and all that, that's more because of the contracts now have changed.
Right.
So there is a more for that.
And I would add to the answer a little bit too. We do have a new director now, and she may have different opinions about what is needed in terms of resources and how to allocate those resources.
So then I guess my next question then would be, what would be the risk of this event not taking place if we table this to the next meeting?
Our next meeting is June 8th, so this event isn't until late July. I don't necessarily know that there really would be any impact. Like I said, I believe that they already have a commitment for the carnival portion. So if they already have a commitment for the carnival portion, likely they've already put down some type of deposit. But, I mean, I'm all kind of presuming here because I am not involved with their end of things.
Right, okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. The question I have is actually kind of the opposite. What would the harm be in waiting for what would be the harm be in waiting to approve and talk about all these other issues at the same time when we have everything in front of us, as it relates to the fireworks? Because, I mean, to me, it's all a package deal.
Well, I believe with the fireworks, it's supply chain.
That's the only reason.
So
So
it
they
would
can
be a
buy the fireworks.
issue with-
You've got to get those orders in as soon as possible.
Why
if
are we
you-
waiting until now then, I guess?
Well, because
It is what it
we
is.
talked about it last time. Someone said we couldn't spend any money last time.
Okay.
It was a special meeting and it wasn't on the agenda.
Okay. No, I didn't mean like at the
I'm just
budget
teasing.
presentation.
Yeah.
I meant at, I don't know, February, March, maybe April.
Things did get behind the Lions Club. I actually had a conversation with Derek too, and that's why I'm really surprised he's not here, so,
Sure.
Again, maybe he had an emergency.
yeah. I don't think it would be, personally, I don't think it'd be an issue.
No, I don't think any of it'll be an issue. I just wondered if it would just make more sense to
Yeah.
just do it all.
Yeah, it would be, but with the fireworks, it's-
I just don't want to not be able to get them.
Oh, I agree. I think they sell them on the street corner, you know.
Well, I want something a little nicer than that.
Those
are the ones-
If Mr. Mayor's putting them off, I want him to really boom.
I think with the parade and the fireworks, that's still something that is so community-oriented, and we're really the lead for that, that it would still be comfortable going forward and approving those events. I did ask Don about the contractual obligation for the fireworks to make sure that you're not stuck holding the bag for the whole 15,000. So there is a contractual obligation as part of this contract for them to reimburse for that 8,000. So say if the carnival never happened, we didn't have a beer tent, none of that, but we still had the fireworks and the parade, they would still be obligated to pay 8,000.
Got it.
And we still have at least a couple great things for the community.
we could still turn it into a great event with fireworks.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm satisfied, thank you.
Mr. Denault, you had a comment?
Mine was just parliamentary. The motion before you is to table. That presumes that it won't be on the next agenda, so I prefer a motion to postpone to the next regular meeting of the city
I
council.
will amend to postpone.
Second.
We're not at that motion yet, though.
No, we already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
yes.
made it, yeah.
Yes. So we have a new motion to postpone the contract addendum to the next meeting. We have a motion and a second. Any comments and questions on the motion from the audience? Back at council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. MCDR Parade Closure Resolution 2023-006.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the Garfield Road closure permit request.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments and questions on the motion from the audience? The council? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3. Councilwoman Baranski.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the city allocating $15,000 towards the Zambelli fireworks with the expectation that per the contract, $8,000 would be reimbursed from the Lions Club.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments and questions from the audience? Back at council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item B, fiscal year 2023-2024 police and fire SAD millage rates, resolution 2023-007.
So we have been through the process of having our public notice, and we did put that out based on my recommendation of the millage to be levied. 2 total for the public safety, police and fire special assessment, 1 in July and 1 in December. You have the information before you. At this point, we are looking to adopt those rates.
Councilwoman Shornack, Mayor Pro Tem.
I would make a motion to adopt the rates for the police and fire SAD millage rates, Resolution 2023-007 for the years of 2023 to 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments and questions from the audience? Back at council? See none? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We don't have to do a roll call vote on that.
Yeah, do we? Don, do we have to do a roll call vote on that one? Or are we good?
For the
833.
SAD, no, as long as we have 5 members in favor, and I didn't hear
Okay.
any opposed.
Okay.
Item C, fiscal year 2023-2024 budget adoption resolution, 2023-008.
All right, so coming out of the budget workshop that we had last week, there were several questions, and I'm working on preparing some responses for you regarding some of the information that was out of that meeting. So first and foremost, tonight we have on the agenda for the budget adoption. We have gone through the public hearing and the required public notices for the budget. I prepared a recommended budget for your consideration. You have all of the information in the public notice before you. You've had copies of that budget. The budget that is in the packet tonight that we are considering is the same that we had, so likely you may want to make some amendments to that as part of the motion. So one question that I received was asking about the rubbish fund and the fund balance that is in there. Doing a little bit of research and looking at that, it appears that at some point in time in the past, the fund was underfunded, and some of the money from the local community stabilization funds that we received from the state for personal and property taxes were subsidizing that account. I feel at this point in time, we do not need to subsidize that account, so my recommendation would be to remove that amount from the budget and then also back out the amount that we have in our current budget. As far as that will bring us down to closer to about 250,000 fund balance in that account, which I think is a comfortable number for any type of shortages that we may have in the account in the future.
Question. Where then are those funds put back into the general fund? Or are they moved somewhere else?
They are not, so they stay there because that is a tax that is utilized for rubbish and trash collection, composting. One thing about that, though, working with Don and taking a look at the state law, those funds could potentially be used for some type of capital purchases for any type of rubbish, cleanup, street, anything like that. Thinking
Street
things
sweeper?
like we did get the street sweeper, correct?
So we can,
We likely could transfer those funds, because I think it was within this fiscal year that we did that. Yes. So we can address this current year's fund balance at the next meeting, if we want to talk about that. But as far as just the budget that we're dealing with tonight, that would be my recommendation when we make the motion for the budget, is to remove the revenue from the local community stabilization for the fund.
And what percentage was that, or amount, or? Do we need to say in the motion, or do we just?
Let me get that number for you.
She said 250.
Digger, hole digger, excavator,
the auger,
excavator.
the excavator? Yeah, I don't know.
So
Yeah, that would be.
that would be 100,000 that's budgeted in it.
Okay.
So Elaine, if we can use that equipment, the excavator that Mark's purchasing for fixing the sewers,
It's for the sewers, though, so it needs to be something about cleaning.
rubbish.
Oh,
Right,
Okay.
right. So street sweepers, you're cleaning the streets.
Right, okay, I get it.
So
I
that's
thought-
one thing. So at the next meeting, what we can do is a budget amendment to reduce those funds from the local community stabilization that we put in that account, and that would go back into the general fund. And then we can shift that money from the fund balance in the garbage and rubbish to offset the costs for the street sweeper.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mark, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too that, you know, as we've had this conversation many times, whether we're going to continue to do the leaf pickup program, that may be something you want to think about, because if we're going to continue to do that, we are going to need a new leaf machine, which is cleaning the streets, right? The leaves from the street. So just thought I'd point that out.
Did you, can you make sure that we get the proposed budget that you would need, or, you know, give us,
Too expensive.
yeah, the expenses of what it would be? I know.
Sure, I can,
But
I
you know what I
can
mean?
get that. Yeah, I was just.
If you're
just
throwing it
hit
out
me.
there, right, and we're going to be looking at using that, and we can use that for that, then this would be the time to do that, I would think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you can continue.
All right, so some of the other things that we talked about really were the line items that I had in there for parks maintenance and parks capital projects. So kind of talking about a lot of the conversation, I think we all would rather, I think, work together on prioritizing things that need to be done and things that we would like to see be done. So I think at this point, getting rid of the detail in the budget and coming up with an amount. How much do you want to dedicate to parks maintenance for this year, and how much do you want to dedicate to capital projects for parks this year? So I would think just amending that number is going to be the easiest, and then at a future meeting, we'll start really delving deeper into it. Mark has already started to take a look at the paths, the wood chips, everything, and starting to kind of put together a list of all of the improvements and repairs that could be needed. And then certainly we've already talked a lot about some of the capital options, things about Somerset Park. All that conversation can take place at a future meeting.
So I think we had a consensus too about putting just 100,000 away for Stephens Park. That's not in this budget, but we'd have to put it in.
No, we're not going to specify.
Yeah.
No, but just for the park.
Put it into capital.
For a park.
Put it into capital improvements for,
So if you look at, it'd be the Department 770 Park Maintenance, so that's 101,770. This is on page 9 of the budget. You can see where, for the recommended budget, I've got 100,000 for repairs and maintenance, and I would recommend removing that cemetery fence repairs line item, and all of that 100,000 will be decided at a future date. And then for the capital outlay, we've got currently 277 recommended budget in there. I would recommend deleting all of that detail and then determining if that 277 is a good amount, or if you want to put in something larger or smaller. So,
Councilwoman Sutherland?
So, just to kind of piggyback what you're saying with the detail that's still in the budget, I mean, I personally, it was my understanding that we were going to come here today and some of these updates were going to be made based on our discussions that we had in the budget meeting. So it's still in there, you know, broken out by park for Somerset, Rindell, and Blanky for the specific dollar amounts. There's nothing in there, as the mayor had requested $100,000, and we discussed it for Stephens. There's nothing in there. We did ask for cemetery maintenance, which is in there now. The seal coating for the park paths is not in there. Somerset Tower, which I'm going to call it that, but that's what it is. A quote on how much that will cost. You know, all of these things, like, I don't know that we can actually approve an educated amount for park maintenance until we have the answers on those questions. And I personally am not comfortable approving a budget that has specific numbers set aside for specific parts if that's not actually what we're approving today.
No, that's what she's saying, eliminate
Oh,
all
I know,
of
but it's
those.
in there. So if we approve it
Right.
as is.
no,
like-
she
Right.
said with the,
Take those out. So we would make a motion to eliminate those.
I can tell you this, we have far more than what is in this budget of need.
Oh,
So
yeah, definitely.
having 100,000 in there for repairs and maintenance, I mean, all that we really had earmarked there for anything above and beyond just our annual maintenance that we need to do was 20,000.
That's what was in there earmarked for the cemetery maintenance alone.
Correct. So 80,000 is just our general kind of annual needs that
Don't
that
count.
Mark has really addressed that we need to take care of. As far as the capital outlay, you know, these are things that, they're all estimates. A budget is just an estimate. It can always be changed, as I mentioned last time, at any point in time. we're up against the wire here for the budget. If you don't approve it tonight, we have to have a special meeting Monday to approve the budget. And that's why I'm recommending these, with 1 week turnaround time really between the workshop that we had in this meeting. It does not give really any wiggle room, and that's why I'm recommending getting rid of this detail. So just because we have a budget and we budget, 100,000 and 277,000 for each of these items, doesn't mean that Mark can just go spend it on whatever he wants. It still has to come to you, and that's one of the things that he's already been starting to get estimates. There's nowhere near enough time to have gotten all of the estimates for all of the requests and everything that you guys have talked about at the last meeting. And I feel like there really was not a lot of consensus on, what's our top priority, what do we want to do, and that's where we really need to delve into the details. I've asked Mark to start putting together a list of, what needs to be done at this park, what needs to be done at this park, what needs to be done at this park. And then he's got to go contact all of these different vendors, find out what is going to be the cost for all of these items. So, I mean, it's
Completely hear you.
very
I understand what you're
expensive.
saying,
Yeah.
that it's very detailed. There's a lot of time that goes into it. But one thing that there definitely was consensus on was removing the specific detail and having it be a general number. So with the details still in there,
I mentioned at the last meeting that I was going to provide you this same budget because I didn't have time because of the turnaround this packet technically went out like the night of the meeting.
it went out, yeah.
There was
the
no
day after.
time to
Right.
amend this budget based on those changes, and that's why I wanted to mention to you guys that we would need to make some amendments to the budget as part of the motion. And that's why I'm recommending those amendments are taking out the specific detail.
Yeah, I think that there was just so much, like, I would just like some more time and information before approving it, even if it's Monday.
Everyone's tied up Monday at the Fame Awards.
At the what?
Fame Awards.
I know, but I'm just stating.
Not to our recipient winners.
Yeah, the budget process, unfortunately, is very tight window from when you guys get it to when it needs to be approved per our charter rules. When we finally have like all of our numbers and everything in place to be able to even present to you my recommended budget, that's pretty much the beginning of April. So
I think that when we have certain things that can be such a huge variance, like moving the play structure at Somerset, which was, in this one, it's $130,000. I mean, that's a lot of money to.
Well, that was to move it to Rindell.
Exactly, though, but I mean, that was something else that was like, okay, how much is it gonna cost? I know it's only been a week, right? I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna move that and allocate that to a different fund or have it be more general in terms, like, I would be more comfortable seeing it than just,
So I was able to get the numbers for the wood, the engineered fiber wood chips. To bring them up to par the first time this year, 55,000 to do all the parks. Each additional year that we go to use them, it will be 20,000 to maintain them. Estimated. Mike and I did go out to all the parks. Mike is working on figures now on this is what we recommend we do with this park path. This is what we recommend we do with this park path. These are the estimated numbers. But I couldn't agree with Ms. Levin more on the approach to do this is because we have so much, just tons of stuff that needs to be done. There's only X amount in the kitty each year designated. This is how much you want to spend. I will then come up with a list of each park. I should say Mike and I will come up with a list of each park, what actually has to be done, what are your options. These are our recommendations. And then Mike and I will come forth, and then under the city council's direction, these are the priorities. Then we will come back and say, hey, we would like to do this to this park with this amount of money. But I agree 100% with.
and I hear it. Right here in the budget, what we have here is $277,000. What I'm hearing now is another $50,000 that you have an assessment. I know in the last meeting, you'd also talked that you knew generally how much it costs per square foot to put the seal coating on the paths, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we could get closer to that educated estimate of an amount rather than just say, yes, we're going to approve this today, contingent on,
Okay,
figure it out.
but it doesn't work like that with the park paths, because after being out there and walking each one of those park paths, each pathway is going to have a different technique to it, and then you're talking different vendors, you're talking different estimates, and so that, I mean, it works okay for the wood chips, but it doesn't work like that for the park paths.
right, last time you were able to ballpark it, at least for the steel coating. That's what I'm saying, get close. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just saying, like, this number does not,
I was good.
I feel like he would be able to give you a ballpark number, but we don't have consensus on the board on what we're doing yet. And that's part of
we had
the problem.
consensus that we wanted to know around what it was going to cost. We did have consensus in that.
I feel like we could give you ballpark numbers, you know, want to go down the list.
I mean, we need to know, yeah.
So we've got
Answer
those
to the
numbers.
residents who want to know where their tax dollars are going and what we're doing with this. So, yeah,
No.
I'd like to know.
I mean, we can give an estimate on, I mean, I think that they have the linear feet for the parks. If you just utilize, at a minimum, that same number, we do a budget amendment if something is higher, lower.
The issue I personally have with that is I'm being asked to give quotes on seal coating, and after going out there, it's not the proper technique. So that changes the whole approach of how the direction we go with the pathways, which is definitely going to change the figures. So
One thing we could potentially do is, how much do you want to budget for pathways?
We don't know. We can't do that. A bunch of lights here. So if everyone could just hang on a second. Councilman Culkin, you were next.
Thank you. So when you look at this budget, there is a lot of detail in some areas, and there's not a lot of detail in some areas. And for purposes of, I don't think we've really dove into the whole parks thing. I think it was last year or the year before, we put money aside, and then we had some presentations, and we picked parks, and we upgraded them. But I think as long as we have an idea of what we want to do and an idea of what it's going to cost, and I know not specifically, I don't see the problem. It's not like we're not budgeting anything and then we have $200,000 worth of upgrades that we're trying to do. I think if I heard you correctly, Mayor, you wanted an extra 100,000 for the maintenance?
No, just put aside for.
It should just be
For-
capital outlay.
Which prior.
Oh, I see. So in addition to the 277?
So
Should be
priorities.
377 that would be budgeted for the park maintenance or capital outlay, and that you want them separate, right? Or do you want them together?
Two numbers.
Two separate, that's what I thought, okay. So I'm okay with the way that it is, as long as we know that it needs to be used for, and this is really great because this is a budget area that we really have neglected over the last, well, several years. So 20 years. When was the last time they were actually upgraded? So this is a really great start. And I think that we need to just, what?
I'm sorry, just go ahead.
This is a really great start with regard to putting together that plan. Then we can have a plan in place. We know what we need to do every year to maintain, like we call it, you have that term of art that you use, where you're expanding the longevity of a capital improvement. What do you call that?
Maintenance.
No, he calls it something else. Anyway, it's I like the term, but I can't think of it right now. But it's just the maintenance that's done every year to expand the longevity of whatever your investment is, which for many years we weren't doing those things, especially with our parks. So I think this is a great start to that, and we can work, it's a work in progress. I don't think it's fair, and this is just my opinion, to expect our administration to come in with, 30 things or 25 things or 12 things of things that we just aren't going to be able to get. And I don't know there's a lot of variables, and especially during budget process. But this is a good start, and I would support this, so thank you.
Councilwoman Blanky.
Well, I'm going to speculate that what I'm going to say may be helpful. We have many lanes in the government. Our lane is to make policy and to agree on a budget, basically. We make the policy, we approve it. The administration of the city, their job is the process. You do the process. Now, what Councilwoman Caucus said, yes, because of neglect and because of glitches along the way, the parks were not maintained how they should have or replaced or whatever. But now that I think we've caught up, those parks, we really, you provide us with a list or what you say, that's what we're paying the administration for, is to do your job and to give us the bottom line of whatever. We are not, this is where a lot of confusion lies within the city with the Recreation Commission. There's a lot of people who mean well, them and council members up here, that feel that they have an input. And of course, every resident does. I understand that. But the reality is, that's just recreation. You are in charge of the parks. That is, where's the money? Where's the budget? It's in your department, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. As they say, almost, follow the money. Recreation has nothing to do with the money that we allocate and agree upon. So unfortunately, through the years, because of the neglect, as said, people are coming out of their lanes. You stay in your lane. You are supposed to take care of the process of how we, and I don't disagree with all the ideas, make a plan, make a checklist, whatever. I'm sure what we want is just to have coverage of the parks and make sure that the city looks nice and things are safe and whatever. But I think it's important to stress that everybody should know that recreation is recreation. The parks belong to the DPW. And 1 second. Don, am I incorrect in saying that?
You're not incorrect. It's probably a little more complicated, but you're not incorrect.
Okay, and I think what people don't realize is that 9 out of 10, cities have a parks and recreation, or maybe 8 out of 10, okay? What happened to this city in the 1970s, the end of the 1970s, the DPW took not control, but the budget. They took over because it's your men that are doing the job. There is no way a recreation director, can correctly or thoroughly take a crew of men and whatever. That's your job. Those are your guys, your staff. So what happened in the late 70s? That's exactly what happened. The DPW took over the parks. The way the intervention with the Recreation Commission was really pretty much zero, okay? Although, again, I want to stress the fact that we listen to, residents, and we listen to things that need to be repaired or replaced. But what I'm saying is we are paying the administration to do this job, and as long as you keep council updated, and of course, if something comes up with the commission, they are not to be ignored or to be, but that's really not their responsibility, the parks. And I know it's complicated, but we're in a situation that was complicated even back then, and so because of, through the years, the Recreation Commission and the department and all that, really, truly, and I think I can honestly say with experience that they took a back seat to whatever was going on. I mean, they saw plans and they saw things that was provided by the DPW director. So I think that's important. If we're going to talk about budgets and whatever, what we want or what we think, we have to go back to the main source of the process, and they are the process as far as the parks are concerned. That's how, I'm not saying it's a perfect plan. Anything can be changed, but I'm just giving you my experience and what happened through the last 3-4 decades. So thank you for listening.
Parks is always a long subject, isn't it? Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, can we circle back to your recommendations for the budget so we can keep?
That's where we're going.
So far, the recommendations that I have are to remove the 100,000 from the rubbish account of the local community stabilization funding. Remove the detail under parks maintenance and parks capital outlay. The current amounts are 100,000 and 277,000. Whether you want to amend those amounts at all or not with any of the information you've been provided tonight. The only other thing that I really have for a note is one of the things that we talked about was the DPW seasonal and part-time employees at the $20 per hour wage that I have in the proposed budget. One thing, talking to the DPW director and at the last meeting conversation that came up, I would ask for a additional motion outside of approving the budget to make that $20 wage change effective immediately so that we can get lawn crews.
And also crossing guards, right?
Yep.
That was one of them too, we discussed. And
But raising that?
Yeah, that
Amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
that was what we discussed.
Everything else would be in the budget. As far as the wages, I'll have something for you at the next meeting for the non-union wages.
Councilwoman Baranski.
Or could we, it's all right, could we make those motions now during this discussion, Don?
Absolutely. Your
Yeah.
Public
Okay,
meeting doesn't need to be on an agenda. It's a matter of council's will in terms of what it wishes to move
Perfect.
forward and what it wishes to do tonight.
Awesome. I'd like to
Especially if it's
make a
part of the
motion.
budget. It's-
Yep. Well, no, it's because I'm going to make a motion to effective immediately increase the rate of pay for the DPW seasonal workers to $20 per hour.
Second.
And part-timers?
It's seasonal
That's the
and
season-
part-time,
yes,
yes.
these are part-time.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from the audience? Back at council, any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion then to increase the rate of pay for the crossing guards to $15 an hour. Is that, I forgot what we were paying.
Was it 15?
Okay, to $15 an hour, thank you.
Support. Any comments or questions on the motion from the audience? Back at council, any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
One other thing while I'm on a roll, so I don't forget, and it's going to come out of this year's budget, I'd like to make a motion to allocate up to $60,000, not to exceed, to rebark all of the parks, based upon the information that was done, so that we could get it done for this year. I know we have the money in the budget, and I would like our parks to look good for our residents this summer.
The wood chips, right?
Yeah, wood chips, what did I
Yeah, I was
say?
gonna say,
Park. Same thing, but I just want to make sure.
I know what you
Did I
meant.
say it wrong? Okay. Did I say it right? Okay.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to allocate up to $60,000 to
refresh.
refresh the wood chips in the playground areas in the parks.
Second.
Quick question.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any comments and questions from the audience?
Quick question. So I have the bid, and it's part of Sourcewell?
So we have to do a separate motion for you to use that.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure we're clear, because then I don't have to come back next month with permission to get this done through this vendor, right? So I wanted to cover that now so I can get moving on it. But if you want, I can give you all a copy of it so you can see. But it's, I can give you the actual amount, so you can award the
Well, that's, I just did up,
bid.
whatever, what's the pleasure of our attorney?
I guess I'm just trying to figure out your intent, Councilman Baranski.
Get our
So-
parks done.
Right, well, no, the goal I get.
Yeah.
But is the intent to make a budget amendment in the current budget year so that we don't exceed when we spend the money on this, or is the intent to authorize the expenditure?
Yeah.
And then you'll do a budget amendment later?
Correct, if he doesn't have it within his current year's
It's
budget.
not within the current budget?
Yeah.
This is authorization of an expenditure based on the information you've been presented?
Correct.
That's your motion?
Yes, that's-
Not a budget amendment? I'm just
No,
trying to be very
correct.
clear.
Yeah.
That's why I was conferring.
Correct.
I didn't
Okay.
know exactly what your intent was.
Yep, yep. My intent was to get it done this summer.
Spend current fiscal year funds.
Correct.
And then if the budget is exceeded in that area where the funds come from, we can do the budget amendment in June like we're going to be doing anyway.
Correct.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see, you can do exactly, you gave us an exact amount.
All right, I will amend my motion to authorize, I'm going to withdraw my motion. Withdraw your second.
Withdraw my second.
I'm first going to make a motion to authorize the use of going outside of competitive bidding and using the
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell, thank you, for the wood chips.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to waive the bid process. Any comments and questions from the audience?
Laura Lessig, 15201 Fairview. I thought we were talking about the budget for 23, 24, and all these motions are coming up for things to happen now with this current budget. Shouldn't that all be like after we talk about finish the budget?
Well, we're trying to kill two birds with one stone, then it doesn't have to.
It's
budget for
very
next-
confusing because now you're talking about money for this fiscal year, and if you go over, you might need some more for next year. I just feel like you're talking about all these different amendments to approve a budget for next year, and you're gonna lose track, and the next thing you know, the general fund's gonna be empty with all your amendments and addendums and everything else you're doing, so.
At this point, it's only one. So we had the motion and second. Any other comments from the audience? Back at council, all in favor?
Well, I have a
I'm
comment.
sorry.
That's all right. I have a comment. I'm a little bit confused because, so is this company part of the MI companies that we use that we don't have to go out and get the bids?
Absolutely, they're part of the Sourcewell
Okay,
contract.
That's what okay.
Yes.
I wanted to just make sure that the residents were clear that that's the case. That's the reason that we don't go out for competitive bids.
It's already been bid out, correct?
Correct. And that's the reason why we're bypassing that. So therefore, we can use this amount as it's a competitive bid, if you will. Correct?
Yes, essentially, yes.
already
But
a
right,
competitive
right. We're waiving the competitive bid process because it's already been competitively bid.
Correct, yes. All right, fair enough. Okay. I just wanted to make sure the residents were clear so that there wasn't any question.
Yes, we use Sourcewell, MyDeal, and NPP, National Purchasing Partner Network.
Those are the three that,
Yes.
okay, that have already been kind of vetted as to being competitive bids.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mark.
It's not really related to this.
That's what I thought.
General.
That's what I was waiting.
So, yeah, you can wait a minute.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we'll bring it back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No, one no.
Okay, so now I'd like to make a motion to approve,
Hold on.
oh,
It has to be a unanimous vote of all present to waive competitive bidding. If that was what the motion was, and we have a 4-1,
Oh.
I'm sorry, a 5-1, then we are not going with the sole source.
well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear this.
I mean, spoiler alert, I'm not going to vote to approve this, so.
Oh, you're not going to vote to put
So-
the wood chips down on the park?
So she did vote no.
She voted no on using Sourcewell. Okay, okay. So the way around that would be then that we put it out for an RFP?
We'd have to either put it out for bid, or, yeah, there's really no other authorization you can give Mr. Ragsdale this evening for that subject matter.
So just postpone it for now,
Because you need, how many? You need unanimous.
unanimous.
Unanimous for sole source, yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay. Actually, motion.
Can I ask why you're not in favor of putting the wood chips down? And I don't want to put you under the thing, but,
No, that's okay. It's going to be the same reasoning that I had for the entire budget. I mean, I re-listened to our entire budget meeting, And there were 13 areas that I identified that we were supposed to get additional information on that we have not since that last meeting. Some of them were covered today, some of them weren't. We just covered 2, so I can actually bring it down to 11 because we just approved the wage increase for the DPW seasonal part-time workers and the crossing guards. But there are just a lot of unanswered questions out there. So even though this might sound great, and yes, I would love to see new wood chips at the parks. You know, we have a library where it's being closed because sewage is coming up out of the ladies' room floor. We have all of these other issues that are happening. So, I mean, I can't in good conscience approve spending this money when, you know, we still don't have an answer about what we're going to do with the tower at Somerset Park. There's just so many unanswered questions that I need more time and more information before. I mean, I think that we've all said at some point, we can't just rubber stamp anything, right? And that is how I feel about this right now. I do not have enough information in good conscience to move forward.
Yep, it's not a problem. So motion fails. Okay. Now you have the floor with your light on.
Oh, well, that was it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No wood chips. Can I ask, Mark, if we did an RFP, what does that mean?
So,
It's going to be higher than possibly?
This quote is good until 6/11. When's our next council meeting?
Bids. I don't think we need to do an RFP for wood chips.
no,
Oh,
I wouldn't have to do an RFP. I would just
Good.
have to get 2 more bids.
do I have to make a motion for that?
This quote is good. I think.
No, you don't have to make a motion for it.
Just ask for it? Can you get 2 more bids so that we can do it next month? Okay.
Just give them
Do
direction.
we need a motion for that, or just
They said no.
Next meeting is on the 8th. This is good through the 11th.
I can't guarantee I'll be able to get 2 more bids of companies
The
to
kids
do
can
that.
try.
No,
Is
I
it
mean,
at
I'll
that
try,
time?
but I mean.
No, I get it. I get it. If you can't, you can't.
It's the same company that's basically doing it. It's,
I get it.
Worst case scenario, this is still good.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you for,
Lane, do you have any other updates?
I don't think I have anything else for this.
Ms. Sullivan, could you share your updates and you thought needed updates?
Sure. So,
Maybe she has them or,
yep. So dump truck beds was increased, or that was put in there, so that was good. That was an ad that was sent to us today, right? Pay increase for crossing guards, we just talked about that. The park maintenance budget, we talked about, it's still broken out. Seal coating and the joint sealing on the park paths, we were gonna have, something back for that, at least a plan of what parks needed to go first, which ones needed it, which didn't, because there was conversation over how much Pompo needed, because it was just late, and then,
just wasn't enough time.
I hear you.
Just letting you know.
I hear you. I'm just going through everything that was requested at the last budget meeting, and, you know, what we had talked about wanting to see
okay, so,
before we move forward. Cemetery maintenance was in there. We talked about getting a quote on how much it will cost to move the tower in Somerset Park to the volleyball pit. Got the cost of wood chips, so that was covered. There was the plastic panels being replaced at Somerset, that was part of it. Money put aside for Steffens of $100,000. Update the budget to amend for a $500,000 for a special assessment district. Hiring a full-time DPW person for senior housing. Motion to purchase 2 additional police cars to be proactive instead of the 2 that were already approved. I didn't see that in there, so,
It's totally different.
So-
It's not part of
yeah.
so then we need to, but that's it's the thing, though. It's like, it's still a question from last time that we talked about that not gotten any additional information. So how,
Everything doesn't automatically come back to the next meeting because things require research and time to prepare.
but these were things that we talked about having for the next meeting. I mean, I went back and re-listened to the whole thing. Cameras in the parks, I mean, that's something for park maintenance, or if we, you know, I mean, we put a lot of money into these parks, and McKinley is getting, you know, vandalized, and things are happening, and, you know, how much is that gonna cost? And then, an IT person, update on hiring them, so if we have a certain budgeted amount, or if it's gonna cost more because we can't find someone for that role, maybe something we potentially need to know too.
I have a budgeted part-time person in there, and I'm still working on filling that position. I mean,
Yes.
no changes there.
Some of the things are budget items, like the police cars, the 2 we've already was before, And I made this suggestion to the director, well, if they could get the 4 now,
Right?
instead of the 2, let's do it.
Yeah,
And-
that would be now.
And I'm sure she would report back to us if that was capable or not, or what the dates are on getting cars or anything.
There's also only one of 7 that said it.
Yeah, so I don't think that's part of, my opinion is part of approving this budget because the money's already been put in the budget to cover that capital expense. The last 2 are already in there, and we know that we have 2 coming up in the next one. That's all. Mayor Pro Tem Shortnick.
I just have a really quick question for both of you. Even if we postponed the vote till Monday, would you be able to get that information by Monday? Because I don't see that you would be able to.
I don't think that
All
we
right.
would even be able to have all the
And-
information prepared for Monday.
Then my next question would be, then instead of obviously the detail, which you can take out because it's just GL lines, can we just as a council agree that here, there's that 100,000 that for capital outlay of, and we know right now the majority of us want it to go to Stephens, but until we get there, let's leave it as a capital improvement, because that way the money's allocated towards parks, so that will stay there. And then the 277, as long as you will remove the defined things, then the 277 will just be the budgeted thing, so what we need to accomplish, we will, and when Mr. Ragsdale is able to get the breakdown, then we can decide what gets done in this budget year out of that 277. Would that be okay?
Right, and I think that that is what Elaine was saying too, right?
Right, but I'm asking you,
was
would
the
that
same-
be okay?
That's the same thing.
But would that be okay?
I really wanted to.
Well, I understand where you're coming from 100%, 1,000%, really I do. What I'm asking you is, I don't think the numbers per se were going to change. I know you want to see the detail, and I get that, but my question to you is,
Changing now, so we're talking about changing them now, even from 277 to 377.
no, because that 100's in there already.
Adding that,
Yeah, that 100's up there already.
but it's supposed to be under park maintenance.
100
Yes.
for park maintenance and 277 for capital right now.
Yeah, so we can keep that all together.
And then you're taking out the 2 for the cemetery?
No, I'm just
No,
taking out
just taking up a line item.
I'm not
because
taking
it-
out the cemetery. It's something that is going to be, you have $100,000. Mark is going to work on putting together a list of needs, and he's going to have a recommended priority. This is what needs to get done, and likely from his perspective, the cemetery fence might be one of those top priorities. And then from that, you know, you're gonna have to take a look at that list and figure out how you want to spend this 100,000 that you have allocated.
So then, I'm trying to say this as nice as.
I can probably come up with $1 million worth of capital. I can come up with probably $1 million worth of repairs. What number do you want to use? What are you
Not even
comfortable
so much
as a
about
group?
that. It's that at times in the past, agreements were made or things happened based on what was in writing. There was discussion about it being changed. It wasn't, or changes were made outside or separate meetings and things occurred. Park structures and things like that, if it's not here, what is the guarantee that 3 months from now, I'm just using this as an example, Mark, so don't get offended, that he's not like, oh, $97,000 or $92,000 for Somerset, and then it doesn't have, like, how do
Don.
we
Your guarantee-
know? How do we know?
You have your
And wh-
guarantee in the budget that anything over $7,500 has to come to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
By the charter.
that's
Unless-
Charter.
that's
Yeah,
better.
any purchase,
Right,
yeah, any purchase over 7,500 has to come to you.
right, okay. That's
Don,
Comes to
Don, can
me.
you, Don, can you maybe explain,
I was like,
sorry, what you just explained to me before about what a budget is compared to what,
I'm glad you asked, because I was going to point you out as an example for Ms. Sutherland.
Yep.
That when you first started too, you were a bit torn on, if we're adopting this budget, does that mean we're spending this and only this, or does this mean we've decided our priorities? And it is really confusing. I mean, it's still confusing to me. A budget is just a roadmap. A budget is saying the city has allocated that we can spend $100,000 for this thing, right? But when we get into the year and we realize we need 150, we can amend that budget to 150 and take the 50 from something else that we don't need that year. Whether it's we didn't fill a position, whether it's we didn't do a certain sidewalk project. So there's all these different ways of moving the numbers. This document tonight and every year is just designed to make the numbers match. Here's what we think we're going to bring in, here's what we think we're going to spend, and here are the places we're going to spend it in, whether it's detail, whether it's general, whether it's broad, whether it's specific. And I had my light on too, not just for that question, but maybe to help a little bit more. The only requirement we have in our charter is to adopt a budget by Monday. That doesn't mean we couldn't bring the budget amended back to all of you next month so you can see what it looks like based on what you approved tonight, and then make a motion to change something. Ms. Levin, you missed this, or council, I really think we should fix this, and we missed it that night. You know, you have that right and that luxury anytime under the Uniform Budgeting Act and under the charter. So if that makes anybody, if it makes you feel a little
That
better.
makes me feel better because how I'm looking, if I really just wanted to like bring it down to complete layman's terms, it's like going to the hospital and I'm saying, you're here to have brain surgery, and then they operate on your heart. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to see, right? And I don't like to sign off on things that verbally are different than what I'm seeing on paper. That makes me very nervous.
But the beauty, and just to respond, the beauty of this is that, as Elaine pointed out, nothing will get spent unless council has seen it and approved it. So it might say $100,000 for parks, but if there's a $15,000 project that the city wants to do, all of you have to bless that before it ever happens.
Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is I don't think the budget is changing, just how it is delineated on the line. And I'm very comfortable. It's like if we all had BSNA right now, she could be changing it in real time and we could be seeing it. And that was my understanding of what we were going to be doing. So when we discussed how many meetings, and in the past we had to have multiple meetings because we had to physically see it because it was so itemized. So I'm super comfortable because the numbers aren't changing. Well,
The buckets are changing.
right. Just the detail or the description is changing, but the number is still 100. We can change the numbers. That's the beauty. We can change them. But what what Ms. Levin is proposing is just to eliminate some of the extra description, not the numbers. And if we choose to change the numbers, that's on us. So I'm comfortable with it, as you've advocated for. Was there any other modifications?
No, I didn't have any.
I don't have any.
She addressed the two I had, so.
Okay, then if someone would like to make a motion. Councilwoman Baranski.
I'm going to make an attempt. I'm going to make a motion to approve the budget as submitted with the following modifications. Eliminating the subsidization to the rubbish fund of the $100,000. Removing the detailed information, line item details in park maintenance and in the park capital projects, such that it will allocate $100,000 in repairs and maintenance and $277,000 for capital projects without specificity. And then modifying the wages to reflect the changes to the wages for the DPW seasonal/part-time employees to reflect an hourly rate of $20 per hour, and the crossing guards $15 per hour.
Those are already in there.
Oh, you already put them, okay, then
Right,
even
that's for
better.
next year, so the motion that we made earlier is really just for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, perfect. I didn't realize you had already adjusted those two things.
Yeah, that was always part of the plan, it's just we're doing it 6 weeks early.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Sound good to me?
I'll second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second for adoption of the 23-24 budget. Any comments, questions from the audience?
Michael Lessage, 15201 Fairview. I won't make any comments on the budget. I wouldn't vote for a budget that didn't have the changes that we had from the previous one. Last year, those were in there. What I'd like to talk about is the rubbish fund. It's the most boring fund of the city, but I really think we need to clarify this local community stabilization authority money that's in there. We are blessed with a large industrial park, which pays a significant portion of our taxes in this city. A portion of that is the personal property tax. In 2012-13, the state decided to phase the personal property tax out and replace it with what's called the Local Community Stabilization Authority. That is a state tax, and that money is then distributed to each community. And the idea of the fund was to make every city whole, so that if we lost the personal property tax, the state would make us whole. Unbeknownst to us and the rest of the state, when it came out, this fund is actually overfunded by a significant amount every year. And that amount has increased every year since its inception. Let me get to the point. That fund that money does not go to the general fund. It goes to the general fund for specific millages that go to the general fund. There is a general fund, general operating millage, local community stabilization authority payment. There's an ambulance fund, local community stabilization authority payment. There is a rubbish fund, local community stabilization authority payment. There's a library, local community stabilization authority payment. And until the street bond was paid off, there was a local street bond, local community stabilization authority payment. That's why there's $350,000 in the street bond fund, because that's the overpayments that we received from the state during the time that we were collecting that bond money. That money may be moved to the general fund, and I would leave that to our attorney for direction. But to say that the general fund has ever subsidized the rubbish fund, that's not true. And the formula is very easy. What's the garbage bill divided by our taxable value, and that gives you the millage. It's that simple. And that's the way the fund was set up, and I believe Mayor Carnegie, Ms. Blanky were on the council at the time. It was in the early 2010s. So the bottom line is that except for administrative charges, you cannot take money from the rubbish fund and move it to the general fund. You just can't do it. You cannot take money from the ambulance fund and move it to the general fund unless it's for an administrative charge or specific charge. You can likely take money from the 2015 street bond fund and move it to the general fund, because we did the same thing with the city hall debt when we paid that off a year prior to the street bond. And I believe that was $180,000. It's on your budgets there. I guess what's mostly surprising to me is that there is not one other person, including our paid professionals besides me, that understands this significant source of revenue in our city is equivalent to over $10 million in the last 6 years. It's one of the reasons the city has a significant fund balance. In the month of May, and watch what happens the next few weeks, the state will now announce the overpayments. By law, by statute, that fund has to basically spend its money every year. In May, they come up with an additional payment. We budget for about $600,000-$700,000 a year, but we've gotten over $1.8 million over the past several years, each and every year. That's called the overpayment. So this is a source of funds that has been invisible to a lot of people, and is one of the reasons our city has a significant cash balance. But again, you can't move money between funds. I thought it was a reasonable question when Ms. Shornex had it last week. But you just can't do it unless it's specific circumstances, and the city attorney would be the one to advise us on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask, Mr. Lessig, could I ask you a question? Something triggered. So if we don't have it allocated in our budget for that money to go to the rubbish fund, is it your position that we wouldn't get it from the state?
No, the formula for the state, and it's available at, you Google Michigan personal property tax. It's called the personal property tax reimbursement. In it, it has a line item, and I just pulled it up. I got it right here on my computer. We received $1.7 million in 2021 from that.
Right.
And each of those, as long as you are levying a millage, you are eligible for that fund. There's essential, partial essential, and non-essential services. First thing they like the ambulance fund is essential. It will get its full allocation, and it will get an overpayment. And I don't, there's, the spreadsheet's this wide. But the formula is fairly simple, if you read through the whole thing. But there's all kinds of caveats and buckets depending on type of equipment, all those lobbyist-related exemptions, et cetera. But at the bottom line is, every year, we've got money in each of these millages, the general operating fund, the ambulance fund, the library fund, the rubbish fund, the street bond, and the city debt, which we no longer levy. We do not get a local community stabilization authority payment for it anymore. So that $358,000 in the local community, or the local streets, that Mr. Walters moved out of the city debt a couple years ago and into general fund, and that was legal. So we will get it if we levy it. We do, at PA 33 is a special assessment that does not apply.
Okay,
Road bonds do.
right.
Road bond would.
Because I want to understand, because I think I hear you, but then I don't hear you, and I want to make sure, because I don't want to do anything to avoid getting money from the state. And I wasn't the one that brought up.
This has nothing to do with the state. This has only whether, A, the question was, or the statement was that we subsidize rubbish with the local community stabilization authority. That's incorrect. That money comes into that fund from the state. We don't budget that. There's no transfer between any
Okay, I see what
funds
you're
of
saying.
city money.
Okay, all right.
That money comes from the state directly to us for that specific purpose.
So is the point being then therefore that part of the motion is irrelevant because it comes directly?
You just can't do it.
Yep,
So-
okay, fair. Okay, good.
Since I've gone this far, what I would suggest you do, because that fund balance is going to grow, it's going to grow probably by another $70,000,
Yeah.
$80,000 in the next couple weeks. You could reasonably reduce the millage on the rubbish side by 0.1 mil. That's a small amount of money, but it's 7% of that tax. And what you're doing is you're slowly burning off that excess fund balance. Now, the other statement that was made, I don't mean to go on, but you asked the question.
No, you're good. I'm fine with it.
The other statement was made, we could, in a couple of years, we could get a new garbage contract, and that's going to be probably higher. So we'll have money aside. I don't want to be taxed today for a service that 3 years out from now, when maybe I don't live here. I should be taxed for the rubbish in the year that I'm going to receive it. So I believe that we should burn that down a little bit. You could reduce that millage slightly, and then each year you bring it down maybe $70,000 a year. We don't want to go negative.
Right.
We've done it once before.
And the millage is actually simple. Garbage bill and other expenses, like the administrative expense, divided by the taxable value, and you get the millage rate you need to charge each person. And one more thing is, we need to remember that 40+ % of that rubbish tax is paid for by our commercial and industrial people that don't get the service. So the people that are subsidizing it are actually our business taxpayers. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Anybody else from the audience? I see none. I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One no. Item D, fiscal year 2023-24 water and sewer rates.
So we have had the public hearing and the notice for the water and sewer rates. At this point in time, I'm not recommending any changes because without having a study done on the rates, we don't know what that rate increase could potentially be. We've talked about this in the past, about how we need to do a new rate survey, and I've got that in this current budget that we just approved. So at this point, I'm just looking for a motion to approve the water and sewer rates as proposed.
I don't remember how long it really takes to get that study done. I know we've done them since I've been up here, but I don't recall how long it takes. Do
I have
you?
not been through that process before. I have seen the previous one that we had done, which was a 5-year rate study, I believe, by Plant and Moran.
Plant Moran, yeah.
Pretty extensive study. I would imagine it's probably going to take a number of months. It certainly shouldn't take a whole year, so by the time we are back to approving the rates for next year, it should be completed.
Okay, so that's obviously something that we don't have to do, so if we can start that process as soon as you can.
Yep, that'll be
better have the data.
something, order of business for one of the first things for the new fiscal year is putting out a proposal for that.
Perfect. Councilwoman Shortak?
I was just going to make a motion to approve the water and sewer rates.
Second.
Okay.
They are not going up. I just want to point that
That
out.
was all. I was going to make the motion. It's no big deal.
Okay. So we have a motion of to keep the water the same. That means I'm going to plant my garden again then.
There you go.
Guess I can go water my garden.
That doesn't mean next year that won't happen. Do it now. Right now.
Any comments, questions from the audience? Back to council, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consolidation of precincts resolution 2023-009. Mayor Pro Tem Shornak.
Oh, I'll definitely make a motion to approve the consolidation of precincts, the resolution 2023-009.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments, questions from the audience?
Oh, this is just for the August 8th election? Okay.
No, I thought we were permanently doing them.
No.
Oh, God bless it.
We don't have that authority yet.
Okay, that like make no
Are
sense.
you amending your motion?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
It
I'm
just seems like a
seconding
waste
her
of time.
motion that it's specifically for only August 8th of 2023 election, just so nobody goes there
Yeah.
in November.
Comments, questions from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, returning business. Industrial Park Assessment District.
So we've had a number of people working behind the scenes, putting together the role for the industrial park special assessment, and as we've been discussing at the last several meetings, both our engineer and assessor have come up with a method for how they will be assessing, and I am told that the role should be complete hopefully by next week, maybe one more week at the latest. There's going to be required notice that will have to go out for the public hearing. So we will be working on all that as well. What we're looking to do today is to just set the public hearing for the Industrial Park Special Assessment District for the meeting June 8th of 2023.
I don't have my phone. Councilwoman Coco.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing for the Industrial Park Special Assessment District for June 8th of 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from the audience? Back at council, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bond proposal for street improvements, resolution 2023-10.
So this is also a continuing item that we have had much discussion about. We do have bond counsel Tom Collis here if you have any questions. This is the language that has been prepared for a proposal for street improvements for bonding that would be on the upcoming election. So at this point, looking to just approve that resolution and the language that's in it as part of your packet.
Councilwoman Coco.
I just really wanted to find out if anybody had any strong objections to any of this language. I would assume that, Don, you've looked at this with a fine-tooth comb. Okay. Anybody have any objection to it? Okay.
No, I actually just showed a couple business people just to read it, get their opinion, and they didn't see.
Anything wrong with it? Okay. Then I would like to make the motion to approve the resolution 2023-010 for the street improvements as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments and questions from the audience? Back at council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Now vote for it.
Item C, library building future plan. Would you like Mr. Denault to give us an update, or do
Got a
you?
lot of pieces of paper here to turn around. I think,
I told her I was going to bring her a city clerk hat and a city manager
Yeah.
hat, so you could tell which functions she was doing at which time, but I forgot the hats. Do you want me to speak?
you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I can. From my perspective, and obviously there are probably different boots on the ground that might know something different than I know, but my last update, and I circulated that to council about, I don't know, 5 to 7 days ago, was from the attorney indicating that he had no legal objections to anything in the purchase agreement documentation. He did say that because there were some tweaks, including one that they requested, he wanted to make sure the library board approved it. I have not heard from him today or, to say that the library board's had a chance to meet and do that. But as far as he was concerned, it was in good order. So if anybody knows anything different or has heard anything different, I have not. That's my communication line is through the attorney, just because we're both represented parties. So that's all I have.
So can you just, because we have a large audience for library, kind of explain what it was?
What the agreement is, in principle? Sure.
Yep.
So in principle, the agreement has been reached that the city of Fraser will sell the building and premises to the library board, because under state law, library boards are allowed to own library property and operate it as a library, for $1. That's the consideration required to make that transfer. And in exchange for that, the library board will agree that it will make certain required improvements. The city and the library board are going to agree on those improvements as sort of an addendum, much like we did the Lions Club contract, where there's sort of an addendum that has to be done. So in layman's terms, we'll all agree on what those improvements look like, whether it's a roof, whether it's HVAC, whether it's, building out an extension of some kind. But it has to be an improvement that's required, because to protect the city of Fraser, we insisted that in the event that it ever stops being used as a library and we get that building back, we don't want it coming back in worse shape than when we sold it. So they're going to make some upgrades, and that's part of the reason for that millage that was approved, right, is to make those upgrades and those improvements. And they have the funding to do so, and they've represented that to us. Are there going to be improvements or capital projects or expansions they want to do that might require more money than they're generating right now? There could be, and they would come back to you with a proposal for that should they need a bond or something to help them. But on its terms, on its face, the agreement says they have 3 years to make those improvements as agreed upon, and if they do not, then upon notice from the city, if the city wishes to exercise its rights, they could exercise a reverter clause, which means the building comes back to the city because it's falling now into a condition that the city's not comfortable with, sort of like almost like a check and balance, just to make sure that it does get maintained properly and safely for all. They haven't had any objection to that. Obviously, they just want to make sure we all agree on what those improvements look like and what they're going to be. And other than that, the only other reversion clause in there is if they ever stop using the premises as a library. Obviously, under state law, that would happen anyway. The library would come back to city ownership and operation and use. But that's in there just to make double sure that they understand that if they ever just abandon the operation as a library for whatever reason, whether it's funding, whether it's inability to keep going, whatever reason could happen from now into 50 years or 100 years in the future, that condition will be there so the city gets the property back. Even if it doesn't want the building, we'd at least have the land to do with as we wish. The one thing I guess I failed to mention, of course, is as part of this, there is going to be a split so that the cemetery piece, which is now considered part of the big piece, is all owned by the city. So we're going to split it off so that the city maintains ownership of the cemetery, because libraries can't own cemeteries and certainly don't want to maintain them. So that will be part of the package at the closing, where it's split off. The two parcels have separate numbers. Mike Vigneron and his team have helped with the survey, and that's already done. The library split the cost for that with us already. It's just a matter now of going through the assessing process, which we've already begun that process, with the understanding that even if something were to change, we need to split it anyway. It's just best to have two separate pieces, the library property and the cemetery property separated off. And as part of that, we'll be granted an access easement so that we can maintain the cemetery. People can park to go visit, a relative or somebody in the cemetery. And I think that's a pretty long summary of what we're doing. So I hope that helps.
Ladies, does that go outside? Do you have any questions, or can you come? I'm sorry, you have to come up front, please. You have to come up front. I'm sorry, that's the only way people can hear you is the microphone.
I have a question about when you said the Board of Trustees would agree to improvements upon the library, the current library building if they purchase it. Are you speaking of repairs to the building? That's not improvement, though.
It's defined better than that term. The term we used is required improvements, and there's a longer definition to legally spell it out. But it's essentially all of the capital fixes that need to be done that they can't spend their own money on right now because they're only a tenant. So, for example, when you install a new HVAC system, a tenant shouldn't do that. The owner should do that, right? So those are the kinds of things that, as the potential future owner, the city wants to make sure are going to be done when the library takes ownership and uses its own money to do those things. And that list has not yet been agreed upon. We don't exactly know what that will be, but in principle, it sounds like we are in agreement that as long as we can agree on that list of improvements, of repairs, we're not talking about necessarily fixing a brick on the ground, but if the roof has a problem, that's a capital fixture that tenants don't usually do. So that's the reason we're defining that list, because the city doesn't want to get it back one day in worse shape. That's all.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the first time that I've ever been before council. My question is, you
Is your name-
want to sell the
Excuse me, ma'am?
library? Oh, I'm sorry. Sandy Adamac, 18327 Spring Court North, Fraser.
Thank you.
You want to sell us the library for $1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, when I bought my house in Fraser, I had to have an inspector come through and say, okay, this has to be fixed before you can buy it. So is there going to be an inspection before we pay you the sum of $1? Because I can tell you right now, it's not going to pass. The roof leaks. And like he said, that's a major thing. The roof leaks right now. So in order for us to buy the library as it sits, we're going to invest all of this money, and then down the road, the city's going to take it back.
Oh,
No.
Are we
we don't-
paying rent right now to
No.
the city of
No,
Fraser?
no, we've actually
You
given.
and you were supposed
The
to,
building belongs to the city of Fraser.
Yes.
Yes.
but the agreement
Which means that
was,
it belongs to me because I'm a taxpayer and I live in Fraser.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to put it before the public that if you want the library, you have to vote yes to pay $1.
No.
No.
Don't need to do that.
Oh, we don't need public input.
No.
the board,
I mean,
the board makes that decision.
we love the input, but the library's agreed to buy that, and that's originally what council believed that bond was for originally, is to fix up the building. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, the public would certainly have every opportunity to go to their board meeting
Oh, yeah.
and talk about the agreement when they approve it, and to come to before the council to talk about the agreement when you approve it. So absolutely, there would be public input opportunities.
Anybody else? Mr. Walsh? Okay.
I have a question.
Councilman Braska.
So remembering that we didn't want this to go on and on and on and on and on, and we had put deadlines on it, but at the same time, I can appreciate the devil being in the details and details being very important. And I'm assuming the library is in the same situation as us. They only have one meeting a month. Is that? Okay. So when is the next library board meeting after today?
Library board meetings are always the third Monday of the month.
So next Monday? Perfect. So then I want to make a motion to extend until next month the ongoing productive negotiations for the sale of the library.
Second.
Sure.
Because we had put a 30-day cap on it.
Yep, nope, I know.
Yep. So we have a motion and a second.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Any comments from the audience? Or the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mayor Pro Tem Shornak.
So, just because it hasn't been said and it needs to be said, a couple things. One, the library was supposed to enter into an agreement with the city, but let's just say because the people we had in place did not do what they were supposed to at that time, that the library was supposed to be renting the library from the city. They were supposed to be paying rent. That never happened. But in the meantime, we found out that because you get your own millage and it's voted on by the residents of Fraser, the library has its millage to run and do everything, but because they don't own the building, they can't make repairs. So in essence, the library has been occupying a building that they have not been paying rent, but yet the taxpayers have been giving money specifically for that building and stuff like that. So this is the whole reason this came about purchasing the building, so that some of the repairs can be. Because if the city had to do all the repairs on that building, we don't have access to the monies that are being used for that purpose. So, and then back to the bond issue is, the only thing that was presented to us with the bond was to purchase the bank. That was not to purchase the bank and/or, we got the idea of they wanted to possibly fix it up, but we do know it's more expensive to fix up that building. So I just want everybody to understand, it is not that anybody's against the library. There is a lot of stuff going on in the background, and there was a lot of miscommunication. I know Ms. Baranski and myself met with Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Weinstein, right?
Lesson, or,
No,
Burley.
Burley, that's it, Mr. Burley. I was trying, Mike was supposed to be there, that's what. And so, because we wanted to understand what it was. So with moving forward and purchasing the building, they are not going, the library is not going to be responsible for all the repairs, okay? Because we know they are lengthy. We know there's a lot of problems at the library. However, in the meantime, there's going to be repairs. That's what this agreement is about. And at the same time, if the library, in the meantime, decides that they want to move forward and move and relocate, that is still something that is possible to do. But in the meantime, they can come back to us with, like, this is what we want to do. We would like to bond out for this. But we needed two things. And we were told about two things, but we only really brought one. Would you agree to that, Mr. Sutherland? That you guys basically brought, like, well, our intent, and I know what your intent was to buy the bank. Right? So when you guys came for the bond, it was really about purchasing the bank. It wasn't about really fixing up the current thing. So you guys didn't bring us numbers other than the one number for fixing the current library.
That is true.
Yeah.
But you guys knew.
No, I didn't say we didn't know. I didn't say we didn't
You
know.
said it before. You said it before.
No,
You have said before, and so have other members.
Microphone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me get to the mic.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying, I know what you're talking about because we talked about it at the meeting.
Right, you guys
Yeah,
have said before.
Don't say you guys.
yeah.
Okay, who should
I
I
have.
say?
I said it.
Just address.
Yeah, but anyway,
Individuals on council
Just address.
have said that they had no idea that we were thinking about the PNC building.
I didn't know at all.
Well, you get a break because you weren't on council at the time all the emails went out. But every single one of you received an email asking you to please come to the PNC Bank and look at it with us. We had two people come,
Right, and as I,
Sutherland and
Ms.
Ms. Baranski. And I understand people work, but you knew. It was in your email box. So if you knew, and you say you're so for the library, why did nobody that got the email that couldn't make it to the building call the director, call one of the board members, and say, hey, we hear you're thinking about the PNC building. We know a couple of us on council have come and looked at it, but we want to know, what's going on. Nobody did that. You didn't care.
Excuse me.
The only time you started caring was when we brought the bond and asked you for a bond. So, and you told the public, you told the citizens of Fraser that you didn't know that we were going to fix up, or going to look at another building. You said that. Ms. Shornak, you said that if you knew that we were thinking about going to a new building instead of making the repairs to the current library,
Yeah.
you said you wouldn't have told your friend to vote for that millage.
actually, you're twisting what I said, because
I
we
am
talked
not.
about this. Yeah, because, no, we're not, we'll debate it later, you and I, but what I had said is the fact that I felt like the language was a bait and switch, because it was and/or, and I didn't know you guys were all for just moving. You were not, like, that is what I said. I said I felt like it was a bait and switch, and I said it's because legalese, and all the attorneys know how I feel about that. But anyway, the broad stroke, okay? I am not against it. I was against the fact that it was just all about PNC when the millage itself said and/or. So for me, I didn't get the and/or. We got the this. That was what I said. So I personally felt like that, yes. But that's why, because I felt like that's all you guys wanted to do, and there was no room for improvement the current library.
At the time, we were still thinking of, we were still going back and forth
Right,
with
but that
you
was my
guys.
point. So I just wanted to
We're
bring it
going
all
back and forth.
We're like past
Yeah,
all
we'll-
this.
we'll debate later,
We're not here to debate it, and just for the record, my email didn't work, and it still doesn't work, so I didn't get the email either. But there's nothing else to really go forward on. It's what's said and done. Most of this council, I believe, supports the library 100%. You know,
Okay.
if they would have came with the right numbers, the right information, when our bond attorney tells us he wouldn't sign our names, and he's a bond attorney and does this for a living, he says, you guys should not sign on this because you could be liable for all of it. It's the lack of experience that the people had, and the people that the library used didn't prepare the right information to us. If we're told by the attorneys not to sign it, you think we're going to sign it and say, yes, go ahead and go with it for $20 million? Or $7 million, I'm sorry. You can't. It's that simple.
We just need plan numbers.
Fortunately, we're past all that.
Yeah,
So,
Mr. Mayor, if I
yeah,
could.
we're past, all about communication.
For Ms. Levin, we all know him, but for the record, we do need his name and address.
Oh,
Sorry.
Jim Sutherland, 31520 Schoolcraft.
I'm sorry I didn't recognize you.
That's okay.
So your wife would tell you I'm for the library.
Leave me, nope.
Oh, you're,
No, we don't discuss this stuff.
Yeah, no,
We don't sit at home and
it's
talk about
separation
the
is church and
library.
state.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have,
I didn't know they were married.
we don't talk about
Yeah.
Yeah, separation of church and state.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to extend it for 30 days. I don't think that.
We haven't taken a vote.
Vote on that yet. I just want to.
Oh, I thought we did.
Yeah, you
It
did.
was-
It
You
was-
talked after.
Yeah, I talked
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
So, yeah, it was, everybody said yes. Unanimous.
I don't remember a vote either
we did.
because
Vote
we asked the
again.
public for comment, and that's when he
Vote
came
again.
up.
So we'll vote.
No, it was
It was
when you-
unanimous.
Was it?
She just didn't get to say
Just
so.
vote again.
Oh, that's what it
So that the
was.
record's
That's what it
crystal
was.
clear in case we all
You're
have
right, it was a
them.
vote, and Ms. Coco almost, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Thank you.
All eyes.
It was all,
Hey, You're having the senior moment over there.
I'm not that crazy. Well,
no, I didn't. That was, no, I just wanted to point
report of
that out
city and
because I-
administration, please.
misinformation.
All right, I have been working with Macomb County Department of Roads on the issue at Utica and French Creek. I have reached out to them, so the ball is in their court, and I'm just waiting to hear back from them about what we can potentially do to address or take a look at the circumstances there and figure out what's going on. The COVID health emergency, if everyone doesn't know, is officially over today. The impact that has is that any type of vaccines or tests or PPE or anything like that is now going to cost, though I did happen to see a story that said that some places with stockpiled vaccines may still provide them for free, so if you missed the boat today, you might want to try and get a hold of some local vaccine providers, your doctor, CVS, Kroger, any of those places for it. One thing that we talked about at a previous meeting was getting out some notice regarding the bond proposal that we did approve tonight. We did take a look at what the stipulations are for getting some type of notice on our water sewer bill. There is actually a small area where we could do something. It's about 6 lines, approximately about 760 characters total, so pretty small amount. We will be working on putting together some probably literature regarding the bond for our website and a small little blurb, and I will try to have that at the next meeting for everyone to take a look at. We have made some movement on a couple of positions, fortunately. We have offers out for both an HR coordinator and a public safety officer. As far as some of the complaints that we've received regarding traffic on Grove and Mulvey, I think it is, we are kind of looking at and doing some exploring about potential options and what other communities have done, successes, failures, things like that. So it's not something that's fallen by the wayside. We are definitely working on doing some homework in between all the other work we need to do. That is all that I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Sutherland?
FAME awards are Monday. Congratulations to all the recipients. It'll either be Councilperson Kalka or I presenting to one of them. We don't know yet. We're going to have an arm wrestling. But yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations to all the recipients, and yeah, have a great holiday, safe holiday coming up.
Great, thank you. Councilman Moransky?
Yep, a couple of business things I forgot to address because there was a lot today. One of the things we didn't discuss, the budget included compensation adjustments, and because we only meet once a month, and because we now have HR protocols in place, and we have timely employment reviews and everything else that you have when you run a business if you run it the right way, I would like to make a motion to extend authority to the city manager to use her discretion to make compensation adjustments for the upcoming budget year, consistent with the new budget, while following those city protocols for all non-union employees.
Second.
That's just for this upcoming budget year.
Correct, yes.
Okay. And we'll go to the audience on this one. Is there any comments or questions from the audience? I'll bring it back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have a request. I would love to see the DPW commit to, if possible, spruce up the volleyball courts in the different parks. It takes a little bit of work, but so that hopefully then, if we get the wood chips, then the volleyball courts, and then our parks are back to the beauty that they were when we just redid several of them. Oh, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. I know that the road work has started on Cambridge Courts, and I see my neighbor over there who's appropriately disgruntled because his court isn't being done. I want to thank both the DPW director, the city manager, and then our AEW representative for getting us an explanation that we may not agree with, but that we understand that unfortunately some of our roads are too debilitated to do the type of repairs or remediation that's being done, which is why it's really important that this road bond get out to the public and that people understand, even if it's not your road getting done, it's your neighborhood, it's your neighbors, and eventually it will be your road, because we want to get to a position where roads aren't too far gone. And so I was going to say, if you needed any help with the verbiage or flyers or anything, I can come up with 760 characters that are politically neutral, but informing residents. And I think Dana and I are going to be really good at that. She's quite the wordsmith herself. We've had a very, very busy week. The city of Fraser's been in the paper. Thank heavens, because now it's all out there. And I'm so excited to work with the department heads and the employees and the director and the city manager that we have, and this council, and the predecessor council, who were willing to step up and say enough's enough. And it took a long time for it to get public, but that doesn't mean that we haven't been working from probably 6 weeks after I got on council. And we finally had the votes and the voice and the clarity. And the new council members have come in and just continued to forge ahead. And it's so refreshing to have city managers that want full transparency. So understand to the public that we did our job. And if more comes out, so be it. And I hope that there is nothing else. But if there is, there is, and it's not going to happen again. That I know that in my heart of hearts and in my head, because of the work of this council and the commitment of our new employees and our new administration. So I want to thank everyone who put their tireless efforts into getting this done. And then most of all, just wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. Whether you're a mother or someone who is a mentor to someone, it's a very important day for all of us, and I hope that we all can take time to appreciate what we have and what we've had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kolka.
So, yeah, I obviously agree with everything you said, Member Bransky. I actually was trying to come up with something that I wanted to say myself, but you articulated it just fine. Yeah, we worked very, very hard when we were going through, unfortunately, all of that turmoil, and we have pretty much had to, it's just been very difficult emotionally, mentally, especially when the people, the administration that you're supposed to be able to trust, you could tell there were holes, and it just, unfortunate, just super unfortunate. And it really took its toll on me because I had no patience. And it came out last year and the year before because of my disposition towards the administration. But I won't make any apologies for it because our city deserved better. And it is really unfortunate that we even had to go down that road. But there's a reason we have a brand-new administration, and I won't make any apologies for that either. So with that, thank you again for those sentiments. Appreciate that. And also, I do have a question to you, Don, about the Dairy Queen. Where are we at with that? Because here's why.
Why are you ruining my night?
Oh, God. Because the property owner next door,
No.
I'm pretty impressed.
You're
So,
not
yeah.
gonna like what you're going to hear.
Well, I want to know. Tell us.
I'm not going to dislike what I have to say.
Yes.
I don't think. We, as directed, have filed our complaint against the property and its owners. The attorneys filed their answer and defenses today. So that starts the clock now for a scheduling order at the circuit court, which the lawyers here know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Initial disclosures and dates and discovery.
year from now.
But I've had a conversation with their attorney, and without disclosing too much in public, I think I've impressed upon them the importance and the goals of this council, and they promised to communicate that with their clients, the owners of the property. And all I can say is I am hopeful that that the owners will take direction from their lawyers, and we'll see where that takes us. But I think it could go in a good direction. They also have the ability, as the lawyers here know, and anybody who's been in litigation, they also have the ability to drag this out through the litigation process. But I just don't get a sense they want that because it costs money to pay their lawyers to drag this out. So let's stay hopeful, and I'm hoping in a month I have a better report. I'm told that there's a new but old plan in place for redeveloping the site. He pretty much wants to adopt the plan that was approved years ago. Just a matter of moving forward. So I'm hopeful.
I understand he's going to the planning commission with his plan.
Correct. It's the same plan that was approved, but because our ordinances expire those after a period of time, he has to get it reapproved.
And that was pre,
COVID.
no, that was before they put the turn lane in too, so ZBA should be aware of, they lost another 15 feet access because of the turn lane that went in across.
I see. Okay, so then the other thing I want to just obviously echo Councilwoman Sutherland's comments about the Fraser Fam Awards. They're Monday night, so if you get a chance, please go. It's a really great time for our community to recognize those that have, made contributions in the previous year. And my daughter, Peyton, is getting the Youth of the Year this year, and I'm super proud of her. She actually just walked in the door, so there she is. And so she's like 16 now, so it's super crazy that when we started this journey, she was like 10 and 9. So just what an amazing young lady. And then to dovetail again to Mother's Day, I have 2 beautiful girls who have made my life worth living. And I'm super proud to be their mother. So thank you. Have a great month. Try not to cry, sorry. Get teary-eyed.
Councilwoman.
I would like to make an announcement that we all knew about. Mr. Van Dam passed away, and he was the city manager here in Fraser, I believe from 95 to 05 or 06. He was one of the best. I got together with a couple of the retiree department heads this week, and we agreed that he was a fair, just man. And the whole time he was here, he did move the city forward. He completed many big projects like the City Hall and the Senior Center and all that. He worked well under Mayor Blanky and Mayor Adamchek. He was a good man, and I want to thank for what he did to our city, and I would like to just acknowledge him. Secondly, I want to acknowledge all the mothers that live in Fraser, and it's this time of year, but we all know it's every day. And just as a mother who lost a child, I will say this. I read a poem once, and maybe Mr. Walsh, this is right up your alley, so maybe you read it. You know, when you look out today in May, you see all these dandelions all over the place. They just overrun everything. So, of course, obviously, if you've gone through that tragedy of losing a child, you're not getting flowers from them, right? So on May, the poem went, all these dandelions all over the place are your reminder that all of us that are mothers that lost a child, that their child is acknowledging them on their Mother's Day. So I just wanted to share that. It's a nice thought. It's a warm thought. And God bless you all, and take care till next month, or beyond that. Bye-bye.
I just hope so. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
What the date?
So the Baumgartner Museum is having a barn sale on June the 4th from 9 to 4. They will be taking donations for said sale every Wednesday leading up to the 4th from 5:30 to 7:15. The other thing is, anybody who ever goes to the museum knows there was radiator issues that caused lots of disrepair in the house. And so they did have to take out some of the walls, which of course are plaster. And with that being said, the wallpaper will have to be changed because it's not, they don't obviously have that wallpaper anymore.
I'm trying to see if I can get a reprint of it.
Oh, okay. But I was going
So
to say,
instead of taking out the old wallpaper,
uh-huh.
I got the company working on seeing if they can get a reprint of the pattern to patch it in.
Oh my gosh, well, then they'll be even more excited about that. But if not, if anybody knows anywhere we can get age style appropriate wallpaper, I know that they would all be in appreciation because I know they would like to get that the museum up and running again. But anybody who wants to go, they're already planning all their little, they have lots of goodies, lots of jewelry, lots of figurines. There's like a bazillion pugs. I don't know, someone passed away and loved pugs. There's like, if you're a pug person. So definitely, stop by the barn sale and pick up some trinkets. So, and of course, happy Mother's Day to all and happy Memorial Day to all, because we won't be meeting before that. And, yeah, and fingers crossed, spring and summer is finally here. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mike, I'm glad you stuck around because I have a question for you. As you probably, they started on Hidden Pine with the road grinding and crack filling. Talking to one of the gentlemen out there, I think he worked for you guys, but he says it's a lot worse than they thought it was. And it's kind of said that I don't know what the scope of the whole plan was, but hopefully there's enough to finish Hidden Pine and French Creek.
Yeah, we believe there'll be enough to finish Hidden Pine and French Creek and then get into the other streets. Those are the two main collectors in the area, but we do know there's a lot of other poor joints, particularly in a lot of the cul-de-sac areas and the eyebrow areas that we do believe we will be able to address. After the first week of work, we're going to convene on Monday to evaluate how much they've gotten done, how much material they're using, and project forward to see how much we're going to be able to do with the money that's been allocated.
Yeah, he said it's a lot worse than what they thought, a lot worse. So, which I think I said that a couple meetings ago, that I was shocked that money would go that far to do the sub, but it there's no way that, as bad as it is, so. Well, good, if you can keep us posted on that, because
Certainly will.
obviously the neighbors are hounding me because now all the dust and I just say, hey, your road's getting patched, it's getting patched, so, but I appreciate it, thanks. I also like to wish everybody all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. I actually have 2 daughters who are going to be on Mother's Day for the first time, and each one of them are pregnant with their second one. And they're only 4 weeks apart, so I'm going to be a grandfather 2 more times within 4 weeks. God. And that's all I have. Wish everybody well and take care, and go out to the audience. Anybody who'd like to participate, come forward.
Good evening. My name is Tina Lenz. I live at 31715 Slumber Lane, and I would like to talk a little bit about the water main replacement that's going on Winsome. And don't look so surprised, Mayor.
I was thinking about
We've been
road.
dealing with this since January. Let me be perfectly clear, and I've been perfectly clear with Mr. Ragsdale and Mr. Vigneron. I am in 100% agreement with infrastructure repair and renovation. It has to be done. However, I am at the corner of Slumber Lane and Winsome. I have pictures upon pictures. I have had numerous conversations with Mr. Ragsdale, Mr. Vigneron. They've been extremely kind to give me their time. They're very busy people, and I totally understand that. But well, it's not my property, it's your property, the city's property. But my corner has been the dumping point for this project on Winsome. The cement trucks clean out their trucks on my boulevard. It's been an absolute nightmare and mess. And again, I would like to present you with these copies of pictures that I have, but I have a pipe that's sticking out of the ground that I don't have a clue where it goes to. Someone says it's a sprinkler system. Well, if it's the sprinkler system, I don't have a sprinkler system, and if it's there for the future, I have no idea where it goes to. I have placed calls to Mr. Odell. I've placed calls to Ms. Levin. I have not received phone calls back from them. I have a water shut-off pipe that's coming out of the ground that is now so full of dirt that it needs to be probably sucked out or whatever they do. I need a water shut-off. If something happens to the water in my basement, there's no way to shut that water off. In my house there is, but if I can't, for whatever reason, get to that, the city is not going to be able to do that. And once again, the city replaced my approach, and they replaced in the street to my approach, because I had paid for that a couple of years ago, and it was cracked in this process. They have now, my driveway, they came in with the bulldozers and they scraped and scraped. My driveway, 3 cars across, is a disaster at the end of the driveway. Today, the guys came in to put the topsoil in. He went on that approach and he started scraping. And I ran out there and I stopped him real quick, and he was very kind, but he said, I go up on these approaches all the time, but he has scratched the brand new concrete that we have paid for. This is just, I know Mr. Ragsdale cannot be everywhere, but whoever is, and Mr. Vigneron cannot be everywhere if he's the person that's heading up this project. But the problem is, there is no supervision of these people, and now they're going to be seeding. Nothing on my property, in my boulevard. There's big chunks of concrete, there's big chunks of clay. They're putting the dirt right over top of all of that. I've already been through this once where they took out a piece of concrete, a piece of the sidewalk going to Slumber Lane a few years ago because it was not ADA approved, which is fine. But that piece of, in the middle of the summertime, that piece of grass would green up and then it would brown out because they kept putting all that concrete in there. All I'm asking is that they clean up. They've assured us, and they've assured me over and over and over again, when I can tell you, this gentleman, God bless him, because he has answered so many of my calls. He's returned the calls, but I just think that, I know you're in there, we're in other areas now, we're on Summer Lane, but those people are going through the same thing. All of my neighbors are going through the same thing, and they're supposed to be hydro seeding. Well, they're putting down seed and fertilizer, but there's nothing over top of any of that. And the street to my north, help me, whatever the name of the street is to my north of me, Airport, they put seed down. They didn't put anything over top of any of that, and it's a mess. Our street has not been cleaned since the beginning of this project. There's big pieces of concrete, there's dirt. I think the contract says that they're supposed to come every day to clean the street. I haven't seen a street sweeper, I haven't seen a contractor, I haven't seen anyone do anything to clean the street. And all that goes down to the sewer. That sewer is so full of debris right now that the street floods and stays flooded until they clean all that out for days on end. The concrete, I do not believe that the concrete was done properly. I have pictures in here to show you that. Where they're going to grade my grass, there's a drop of at least a foot.
You have a minute
left. I talked to the person, pardon me?
You have a minute left.
Thank you. I talked to the person who's doing the grass. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the grass like this. This is my sidewalk. This is my grass, my present grass. He said, I'm going to put a mound of dirt that's going to go like this, and we're going to seed that. What's going to happen when you go to cut the grass? It's going to be a mess again. So, thank you very much for your time.
We'll look at it and make sure this is a priority for you and
And the street has been, because of the amount of weight that's been put in those dump trucks and these huge pieces of equipment, has now sunk. And the water sits there. And so, yes, we're doing roads in other areas, but I would hope that they would take a look at that on Winsome as well. Thank you very much.
absolutely. I'll be glad
Thank you for coming in.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll make sure. It all sounds like a bad scenario. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yvette Foster, 33693 Mulvey.
Hey, Yvette.
I watch, I don't attend.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm here after sitting and listening to a couple comments from several council members, just in regards to what's happening in the news. And that is something that could have been avoided. When I sat on council, I was privy to information, and I emailed, requested council constantly for a forensic audit. And I have the email, year after year after year. I think I stopped my last year. And I wasn't the only one. There was 2 other people that was on the forensic audit road with me. Unfortunately, those 2 other people suffered horrible things. And if we take a better look at what happened in our past, which we can't go back, but I want to let people know that feelings were put in front. Because $100,000 could have been saved. Supposedly from 16 to 20, I'm going to let you know that I went and looked at the green slips. If anybody doesn't know what a green slip is, it's something that impounds. It had to do with impounds and whatnot. I was told something was fishy in that room as soon as I started. And I was fought on it by council members that I sat with. Nobody wanted to support me on it. And I don't even know to this day if anybody's ever looked into it. But there's always been whispers on it. And now that things are unrolling and you guys are seeming to work like a team and willing to acknowledge things, because we had Wayne O'Neill that right off the get liked really well certain people and didn't like the other the three. And guess what? Everybody got what they wanted, and that guy turned our office upside down and affected people's lives. Truly, I can't explain how people's kids suffered from this. So when I sit here and I hear you guys say, I'm so glad that, we worked really hard and all that, I want to let you guys know, work with each other no matter what. Because I sat up there and I had maybe one after Joe and Matt left maybe two that would work with me. I was blackballed by our city manager and I didn't have any support from my council members. Nobody sat here and helped me up here. Patrice, you might have once or twice, but you know what? You could have went hard with me because I was just like you sitting next to you. And so I came here today to let you guys know that this could have been avoided, what's in the papers. You could have had a forensic audit that was asked for year after year after year. And on top of that, if you go back, when Plant Moran would do our stuff, there's always been questions on checking every year. And then you know what we would do? We would listen to whoever was right there without even diving deep and maybe hurting people's feelings because nobody wants to offend anybody. But you know what? What our city is, I'm going to request, look in the green slips. I'm going to tell you what, you're going to get something. I sat in that room, I think, for 2 days, and I got backlash from that, from certain council members that I sat with. Micromanage was the key word. I was the micromanager. I got the emails to prove it if somebody ever wanted to come over my house and see month after month. So I just wanted to remind the residents that there's certain people on council that I sat there with, and I'm not saying all of you, but it was brought to your attention years ago that there was maybe something wrong and we should maybe do something, dig deeper than we were. And instead of costing the city $50,000 or $75,000, we don't even know how much it's cost the city with that girl or whatever is happening. So I just wanted to kindly remind you of that. I wanted you to kindly remind you, when you go home, instead of being mad at my comments, think about the past, who's gone, what they've done, and you might have not liked how harsh somebody is. They might not like you, but what happened to those two men, and now I didn't believe it to begin with.
left.
All done? You got a minute. Oh, I got a minute, thank you. Is horrible. That's what I want in another thing. Go home and think about that. Because it was done deal, they did it. Well, look at the girl that really pushed for it, and look what she did. Thank you.
And I did it, just for the record, say you were right with forensic audit.
I don't even want the right.
No,
You know what I
but you were right.
I really loved an apology, if you really want to know the truth, from people that I sat with. Just like, hey, listen, I treated you like a turd. That's what I would love. But thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Just wanted to address the council over Mrs. Len's concerns. Some of those concerns that she has is standard procedures for construction that will be taken care of, and some of the concerns she has, she's absolutely right, it's unacceptable. Mike and I meet each week with the contractor as a weekly progress meeting, and a lot of these issues are addressed. We're not yet close to the final walkthrough, and I just want to let the council know that I will make sure that Mrs. Lenz's concerns are taken care of when we do our final walkthrough. A lot of these things can't be taken care of at this point in time, and we have to wait, but I do want to make sure her concerns are taken care of.
And all the residents that are having, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and it's not just, she's getting the brunt of it because she's on the corner. And her neighbor across the street, there was no construction there, but they stored the materials on their property. we will make sure that the property gets restored. It's just not a priority. It may be a priority to that particular homeowner, but it's not a priority to the project as a whole, right? You know, so we have to wait. That's hanging curtains and dusting, right? We're not to that point yet, but we will make sure that her concerns are taken care of.
Isn't it normal procedure to put plastic tarps under the sewers so that stuff doesn't get into the sewers?
So, she's referring to the street, the catch basins. We will make them vac out all the
I know
catch
that, but
basins.
A lot of places I
In the
go,
meantime.
are working. Like now they're working in my area. I even asked them, what do they do with all that crap? And they're actually sweeping it all inside and picking it all up, so it's not going. But if we were to get a storm, you're gonna get yards and yards of fine dust and all kinds of stuff down the manhole. And that sounds like that's what she has, so.
Yes, it's a catch-22. You put the paper over it, then the street floods because the water can't come through.
I get it, but.
The main thing is they will be, because we actually went through and cleaned all the catch basins prior to construction. And also like to point out, before we do any project, AEW's crew comes in and videos everything prior to start of construction. So we have, if, for instance, if Ms. Lenz had an issue that was caused by that, we can go back and look at the video and see. An example is she pointed out to me that they cracked her driveway. I went out there and I looked, you're absolutely right, this is unacceptable. And I made them replace the approach. What I wasn't aware of is that they were scraping on the new approach that they just put in, which again is unacceptable, right? So these are things that get brought up that we have to address along the way.
We do have weight limits on our city streets too, so they can't be filling dumpsters with 10 tons of material either, so.
She's going to let us know if you're non-responsive. How about that?
What's that?
Ms. Lenz and the neighbors are going to let us know if you and Mr. Vigeron and AEW are not fixing the problem.
Do you think?
I'm telling her, you let us know, and I guarantee it's
Let's just
7-0
do-
that there will be consequences.
Let's just do a better job than consumers did with my approach when they dug it all up and they had to fix it. And it literally took them, me calling them, and I'm not exaggerating, 25 times I called them because they left it a mess and all over the place. And I said, seriously, if you don't, I said, anybody sues me from falling, it's going to you because I've got dates and times and who I spoke to. So
But you let us know.
Fraser's going to do better.
That's why, since I've been here, require a bond for them to come in and do their work. So if they don't repair that,
Don't do it, then they're
I'll hit
terminating
their maintenance
contract.
bond, exactly.
I think my house was your
Sounds
first
like
project,
laziness.
remember?
Oh, God. 25 votes, no joke.
Okay, anybody else?
Hello. How's everyone doing?
How are you doing tonight?
Good. Chris Meller, 15762 Exeter Court. I'll keep the road theme going tonight. But I do want to talk about the Cambridge Courts maintenance program. But I do want to thank Councilwoman Baranski, Councilwoman Sutherland, and Councilman Odell, and Mr. Ragsdale for getting back to me regarding the project. So when you guys talked about on April 13th about the Cambridge subdivision, well, I live in the Cambridge subdivision, one of the 6 courts, and did not know that we were not part of the fix about getting repaired. So that was a little frustrating because when you read that or you just hear that, live in Cambridge, figure it's going to get fixed unless you go online, look on the look on the RFP, and then you see your street's not there. So kind of bummed out about that. So that's how it all started for me. I know that $200,000 was budgeted for this project according to what you guys approved, and I think $172,000 was is being spent for it. So that leaves about $30,000. And I know our court from Mr. Ragsdale is beyond the scope of repair. Did not know that. I knew it was bad shape, but it is in bad shape. It's probably the worst out of the courts that are there. But wouldn't, and just a question, if a road was that bad, wouldn't it get done first before other repairs? Because if that road goes into more disrepair, it's going to cost more money to fix at a later date. I don't know. That's just a strange how it's not that way. Now, I know we're going to have a bond. a bond is not a guarantee that it's going to go through. I hope it does. I'm going to vote yes. And whoever's people are watching this and going to watch this, please vote yes, because not just my street, but everybody's street. We know how the roads are in disrepair. So I think just maybe a little bit more explanation for neighborhoods that aren't going to be fixed. Maybe, I know they got letters in the other courts that were fixed. Maybe a letter could have went to Exeter Court people. And I talked to my neighbors of like, hey, you know, you're not getting fixed this time. I went around the neighborhood and I saw that the other courts were tagged, and I knew I had something told me it's not right, you know, that it's not going to get fixed. I did send an email, just to let you know, to the city. I got a call back from a Joe, I don't know who Joe is, on Friday, and said, yes, you guys are part of it. You guys are part of the fix. Called me back on Friday. I sent it on Thursday and got a phone call. So I was all, okay, cool. Bad information. So that was, so it's been a wreck, you know. So, and I know what's going on in Winsome is, I couldn't even imagine. So my coming up here and talking about it may seem small compared to that. So, but, you know, I've been living 20 years now, which I can't believe. I didn't have to wear glasses to read stuff before 20 years ago. But we've been here 20 years in June, 4 years on Exeter Court. So, you know, I just want to just give my, you know, my opinion. And I know Councilwoman Baranski lives in our subdivision also. I'm hoping that it's going to get done soon. One thing I want to ask, if it can be done, is it possible for DPW to come and clean up all the mess that we have in there right now for all the broken asphalt and concrete, and it's rocks and it's just a mess.
The street sweeper should pick that stuff up.
It goes through, but it doesn't, because it's in the middle. They only do the curbs.
Oh.
And it's in the middle, right, our turn, you know, where our court is there. So if that can happen, that would be fantastic.
I'm sure Mark can
and-
try to get out some time to do that for you.
That'd be great. I appreciate it. And I have pictures, but really don't, you know, you can come by, come say hi. You know where I live. Knock
I
on the
do.
door. We can sit on the deck.
I thought you were still on Breezeway.
No, I've been, Breezeway was 16 years, so we've been here 4 now.
I actually did drive by just to see if it would be a case for probably the spray patching that we did in the subdivision.
Yeah.
And actually, and I didn't want to get people's hopes up, but I was going to talk to Mark about maybe, depending on how the road bond goes, but maybe we can put money to do some of these spray patching in areas that don't have high traffic.
Right.
And that would really fix some of these things and make them last until we can get there to get them fixed.
We'd take anything right
But
now.
spray patching's actually held up pretty good in the industrial complex.
Okay.
So on a court, I would think spray patching might do.
I know they've done
pretty
some
well.
hot patching.
It's not
with the-
hot patching, it's actually a
Spray, huh?
Yeah,
Well, whatever you guys can do, I'd appreciate it. And
we can look at, that would really help.
thank you guys for everything you guys do for the city. I appreciate you guys very, very
Great.
much. So
Thank
it's
you.
a tough job.
Thanks.
Someone's got to do it.
You're involved with the city, we thank you.
Yeah,
Right,
thank
of course.
you.
No, anytime. So
Keep the questions coming.
We have five seats available.
I know. I already. Yeah, I've had a little bit of conversation, but thank you. Thank you, guys.
Got good energy. We could use that.
We'll sell them real cheap.
Sure.
$1.
I will pay you.
Okay, Marlene Heft, 18546 Davidson. The library board invites you guys and all of Fraser to Cookies and Questions with the library board. We're having this event at the Lions Club on June the 20th at 6:30. You can come on down and have your dessert there, you know, and the library board will be available for any questions. I mean, we have a little presentation, a short presentation, and then we'll be available for any questions or comments that anybody wants to make. So you can come on down and get the correct information straight from the horse's mouth, and you don't have to rely on Facebook gossip.
Love it.
It is June the 20th.
No, time.
6:30.
Thank you.
Lions Club, right?
Lions Club, 6:30, June the 20th.
Okay.
Oh, Ms. Huff, do you know, I saw it when I was driving here today, the library's having a Medicare presentation, I think on Tuesday. I just wanted to promote that. Do you know?
I am not.
Okay, sorry. I was just,
I'm
I
not
meant to
going to.
add that. It's
I'm
not,
not curious.
like, did you see it, like,
Yeah, I saw
basics
it
to
too.
Medicare? I think it was
I
Tuesday.
saw it on the sign as I drove.
Yeah,
by.
I was like, ooh, that sounds really, like, important, and I just wanted to advertise it for the,
We usually do get a good turnout. At
yeah, that was pretty cool. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that, too.
Mr. Walsh, how are you tonight?
Good. Jimmy Walsh, I got too many addresses to give you one of them, but I'm a proud resident of Fraser for over 45 years and I owned a business for over 45 years, and I've always been very proud of my residency in this city and what it's done over these years. I've been very disappointed about the news and everything coming all across the about our city. I like to think of all the positives, and I wish that that was on the media instead of what's on the media now. I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed with some of the other things that have occurred over the years. I love the hanging baskets that I promoted in the city, and all of a sudden, and it didn't cost the city anything for those baskets because they were donated, but then we couldn't water them. I was very disappointed about that because I love this city, and I dedicated the front of my establishment is as pretty as I can. And so I would like to see that coming back. There's a lot of other things that I'm disappointed with. I've been on many commissions over the years with the city. And when I was on the downtown development, I was ahead of the downtown development. That bank wouldn't have been a problem, because it was going to be the CVS, and it was going to be a beautiful design, and they were going to put a park on the corner and everything, and we wouldn't have an issue. But it was voted down because it was a historic site. The library right now is a historic site. It's older than anything else. It was the schoolhouse for St. John's, and we donated that to the city for and it was E.C. Weber, and you changed the name of it, and it was supposed to be always a library, and I would like to see the refinements for that building and keep that as a historical site. That bank wasn't built with that date up there, and it's limestone and it's fallen apart. And I don't want to see our city to invest anything in that. I really don't.
No.
I'm very proud to be a Fraser resident. I'm proud of all of you and what you're trying to do for our city. And I just want to acknowledge that I have a great deal of appreciation, but I'm disappointed right now. And I had to say that because I don't know why that wasn't caught when it was caught, and to be published over nationwide media, it really hurts. Thank you for everything. And I just want to tell you that I am proud to be a Fraser resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
And thank you for bringing the parade back. This year, we're going to, the Adoring Pet Funeral Home and Cremation Service is going to have a pet parade again like we did before. And we're going to have awards for the best dressed pets, and we're going to do it again.
Good.
Please don't tell my children.
Thank you for bringing the parade back.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't tell my
Absolutely.
children.
You're telling me right now.
We have too many dogs, cats and bunnies and everything.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna bring my cat. Are cats welcome?
Yeah, if you can leash walk them.
Take our cats.
Laura Lessig, 15201 Fairview. I want to thank the residents and the library board, everybody that's here, because this is what this meeting is about. It's about the
Nice.
community coming together, the residents voicing their concerns, their happy times, everything. So it's not just me coming in here and talking. So thank you, guys. Yes. Couple things. The Fame Awards are Monday. However, you can't get any more tickets. It's closed down. But it's going to be a big, there's a lot of people coming that I know of. And that's something that all of you should be attending. This is your community getting rewarded for all their work these past years, so everyone should be a part of it. When we talk about the community coming together, the carnival, I mean, that's the highlight of everyone's summer, is having that carnival. And to have the parade and the activities on that Sunday with the fireworks, it's a wonderful time to all come together as a community. So when events are happening throughout the city, you all need to come. It's not just for certain people of the city, it's for all of us, and it's for all of you to be a part of it. This is where you get to know your people, okay? It's not through the emails and the calls of complaining, it's getting out there and having fun with your people. So please, so now, I just want to say I was disappointed the Recreation Committee was canceled this week, the commission meeting, because they didn't have enough people to attend. So I don't see why they can't try to have one next week, the week after. You're getting into June. There's so much to be planned for the parade. I know last year we had a rush. Councilman Sutherland was very involved in trying to get that together at the last minute. People need to prepare. I mean, you have a theme. We want to do some floats. You want to get all the committees and clubs and everybody on board for this parade. So we need to get that going. So the next meeting's not till June, and that could really put a damper on people being available and coming to this parade. Plus, we want the Recreation Commission to have activities on that Sunday. You know, why not have some games and things for the kids and things to do on that day? Because in the past it's been a picnic. You know, get ready and see the fireworks. So that's that. Mr. Walsh, thank you for being here. If he's still here, yes. It's great to hear from him, a longtime resident. The Downtown Development Authority should be reestablished. We've been talking about that. It's in the master plan, right? They talk about it. Our downtown could be so much more. And this is what we need to bring everyone together, a downtown that has activity. So with that, I think you guys should consider talk about it at one of your future meetings.
Yep.
And last but not least, I wanted to just mention our Fraser First Booster Club meeting is coming up on May 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Tim Hortons again. They've been very gracious in opening up their lobby for clubs to have their meetings, so that's where we've been going. So it'd be great to have new people there, or old people, or previous people, and come join us and see what's coming up on our board too. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else tonight?
Peyton Kelka, 15504 White Oak Drive. It is my understanding that the Fraser Farmers Market is not happening this summer. Is that correct?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just disappointed because that is like my pride and joy over the summer. That is where I spend a lot of my time. And I think that over the summer, that is one of the most community bringing in people. And I don't know if it's the people who were running it. I don't know what happened. I couldn't do it last year because of my surgeries, and it's just, I was really looking forward to coming back to doing it, and it was really important to me, and I'm just really disappointed that it was, that it's not happening this year. Thank you.
Yeah. You see the gentleman sitting against the wall?
Martez.
Martez?
Martez is ducking. He's like, no.
Peyton. See Martez right there? He's the new guy in charge. He's got a lot of great ideas. He's got a lot of things he's working on.
Give him a helping hand.
Give him a helping hand, give him your thoughts sometimes, and see what you guys can do. 'Cause she's a hard worker. Anybody else? Did I see a light go on and off?
It was me.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Peyton because, I worked with you on the farmer's market a few years ago and appreciate, all your volunteerism. And I am right there with you where I'm sad and disappointed that it won't be happening this year. I mean, just a little bit of background for you and for other residents who might be wondering what's happening. I mean, really, it was a couple of things like, vendors were saying that we didn't have enough traffic to support, that they weren't making any money. Because residents weren't supporting it. And this is just feedback that I've gotten from the vendors. So please don't shoot the messenger on social media, but, that's the feedback that we've gotten from them. So, I mean, hopefully it's something that we will be able to resurrect. And I'm sure, yes, if you talk to Martez, because I think that a lot of people are going to be like us and disappointed. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great. Okay, motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.